What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new story. This one's been a long time coming. The idea of BROLY becoming canon and turning good is such a popular idea that, well, we actually saw it happen in canon. And this specific concept has been covered a bunch too, so I want to take a try at it. Specifically, we're looking at BROLY. This scenario is going to focus on him first of all being canon, and also turning good. So, what would happen if BROLY ended up turning good? Let's begin this story. So, I've done a scenario like this with Frieza before, and in my eyes, Frieza's not someone who could just naturally turn good over time. In that scenario, I made it basically like Goku's story where he lost his memory and that's how he became good. Because I don't see him just adjusting to Earth and becoming a good guy. The reason I'm mentioning that is because I view BROLY as the same way. He's pure evil. I don't think he's capable of turning good in the way that, say, Vegeta or Piccolo turn good. Thankfully, we have two really good catalysts for this. And we will have to adjust some things to make this fit in canon, but thankfully this isn't too hard to adjust. BROLY being involved inherently does change the powers of everything else though, so keep that in mind. Our story begins when Goku defeats BROLY in movie 8. He hits BROLY with his final attack, and for BROLY it feels like he's being destroyed from the inside out. But there is a side effect from Goku's energy, and this is where we start to change things. When hitting BROLY with this attack, Goku is unconsciously applying the techniques of the Spirit Bomb here, basically targeting BROLY's evil energy. BROLY struggles, but he can't much longer. Everyone else escapes New Planet Vegeta, and BROLY's left there for dead, ravaged by the energy from Goku's attack, channeled from all of his allies. Seemingly this planet is going to be his grave. Goku and Ko obviously return home. The Cell games roll around, because they weren't too far off from this. And like I said, BROLY being in here inherently changes the powers of everything, so I guess we could just say everyone gets a huge power boost by this movie being canon, so like this just upscales everything else. But that's kind of besides the point. I don't really like focusing on power scaling too much in these what-ifs, but it is worth noting, because I'm sure there's going to be a question of why didn't they just defeat Cell that easily? Here I'm going to say the Cell games goes exactly the same, and that everyone's just stronger, including Cell. Anyways, we get to the point when Cell blows himself up, and in heaven, King Kai is looking around for Cell and can't find him. Come to think of it, he'd never actually looked for BROLY either, but they're more focused on Cell now, and obviously so is Gohan, so Gohan finishes that fight, killing Cell for good. And he's victorious, but that does leave another question. After seeing Cell defeated, King Kai looks around all of Otherworld trying to find BROLY because he should have been sent here and then purified, but he didn't. So even with Cell defeated, everyone is left with one last warning. BROLY is still alive, left out there somewhere. They don't know where he is or what condition he's in, but he's probably out there somewhere. Vegeta already swore off fighting, but hearing this he kinda needs to jump back into it. He was embarrassed by the legendary Super Saiyan before, and he was embarrassed by Cell. Maybe this is a chance for him to redeem himself, prove his might and actually defeat BROLY. As for Trunks, he returns to his timeline and things go like normal there, but he does wonder if BROLY's ever going to show up here because he didn't show up before and he's seemingly not showing up right now. We'll see more of that later. And as for the other fighters on Earth, they know to be on high alert now because BROLY might actually show up here somehow. Piccolo's especially focused on Gohan because he really needs to keep up his training. He's the strongest here right now. He defeated Cell and he might be their only shot at defeating BROLY, or at least their best shot at it. They think there is a chance he could actually show up here because, I mean, Paragus already came here before. BROLY probably does know about Earth. But it's weird. If he's alive, why didn't he come here already? That means he escaped the destruction of New Planet Vegeta somehow. What a freak. How did he survive out in space? Well, Piccolo thinks maybe he got a ship off that planet because, of course, they had to have some way to get off that planet. So maybe he found one and took that here, or to wherever he's going. Either way, they need to be alert and be prepared. He could show up at any moment. It could be soon. It could be many years in the future. Maybe he'll never show up, which would be kinda great. But this might be a bigger threat than even Cell, especially seeing how Saiyans grow after being defeated. A couple of years pass. Goten's born. And otherwise, nothing else really happens on Earth. Goku stays dead, and they've heard nothing about BROLY so far. Piccolo's been training Gohan a lot to ensure he can keep up with his power. Eventually, Vegeta started getting back into training too, and reluctantly he even joined them. He's gonna go beyond Super Saiyan just like Gohan did. He swore off fighting because of Kakarot, but no more. Next time BROLY comes around, he'll defeat BROLY. And one day up on the lookout, Dende senses something strange. He felt a slight surge of power, something that he's never felt before. And it felt ominous, but he couldn't really tell what it was or who it was, so he alerted Piccolo, who then told everyone else. Nearby a small village, pretty secluded on its own, there was something that made an impact. And it wasn't something that came here recently. It's been here for a while, long enough that it's actually completely frozen over. But as they get closer, they could feel it, that same presence, and there's no doubt about it. It feels like BROLY. Something's different about it though, but it's still definitely BROLY. He escaped Planet Vegeta the same way as usual. Goku's energy ravaged him though, basically putting him into a comatose state. As he flew towards Earth, he was completely unconscious. His pod then crash landed here, and then getting frozen over. Even for how strong BROLY was, the combination of all those things was too much for him to handle. It was a significant amount of physical trauma. But he still is the legendary Super Saiyan, so he's barely alive. Unconscious, but not dead. Gohan wonders what they should do next because Piccolo thinks maybe they should just kill him while he's dormant. Gohan's not too sure about that because they'd have to free him to do that in the first place. Although Vegeta could tell he's clearly close to waking up because if Dende was able to feel his power, that means there's something kicking in there. Saiyans are quite resilient, but BROLY seems to be pretty injured. It's a shame. Vegeta was expecting a bit more, but it seems like he won't be too hard to deal with. And he's confident in his power by now. He's ascended Super Saiyan and he wants to show that off against BROLY, so he takes matters into his own hands, charging Ki and thawing Broly out of the ice. Piccolo and Gohan jump back. Krillin's there with them too and is kind of terrified. He thinks maybe they should have left him alone, but Piccolo's starting to think that maybe it's better to fight him now, rather than later. And maybe he's on his last legs. Maybe he can't even do anything. He hasn't healed that entire time, and Goku definitely did a number on him. The ice is thawed and Broly is freed. He's in really rough shape right now. And even though he's unconscious, he can feel the powers of those around him. It's enough to make him wake up. And the first thing he sees when he wakes up is Vegeta's hand in front of his face, charging a ki blast in front of it. Quickly, Broly tries to move back, but he can barely move. He's back in his base state. He's clearly in pain, and surprisingly to them, he seems really confused. He basically just woke up out of a coma, so he's pretty lost. But surprisingly, he actually says something. He tells him to not attack, which is confusing. It's not like he hasn't talked before. It's just that he never would have said something like that. When he was being controlled by Paragus before, he seemed pretty calm. But now he seems that same way again. And Piccolo's a bit confused too because Broly's energy does feel a little bit different. Like, it doesn't have that same malicious intent behind it. He looks around. He should recognize everyone around him, but he doesn't. The rest of them all power up just in case he's about to fight. But they don't attack right away, although Vegeta's still holding out his ki blast. And Broly doesn't transform either. He just still looks really confused. He doesn't know where he is or why these people are trying to attack him. Vegeta laughs at this. That's rich. He's pretending to forget everything. But then everyone hears a voice. Well, everyone besides Broly. It's King Kai talking to them. Dende actually had alerted him, just so King Kai and Goku would know. So Goku's watching in too, and Goku actually butts in trying to talk to everyone. Piccolo says something's very off about this, and Gohan agrees. Krillin's watching from nearby too, and Broly seems to be acting very differently than before. Granted, he didn't really get to see much of Broly, but he wonders, what if he isn't faking his amnesia? He really seems like he doesn't recognize all of them, but Vegeta still doesn't believe it. But Krillin reminds them of what happened to Goku, and then he covers up his mouth, realizing he just said Goku's name, which would have just set Broly off. But it doesn't. Broly doesn't even react to it. Vegeta takes note of this too and smirks. Does he not remember Kakarot and blatantly saying this name? Broly doesn't even react at all. Nor does he react to the name Vegeta. Hell, he doesn't even react to the name Broly. And Goku then decides to take a risk just to see if this is real. He begins talking to Broly personally through his head. Broly kind of freaks out a bit first because he hears a voice in his head but has no clue where it's coming from. But Goku's voice doesn't trigger him like he'd expect. And King Kai says that what Krillin said might actually be right. He did get pretty badly injured after all, and that probably involves some sort of head trauma, especially getting sent to Earth in a comatose state, then crash landing and being frozen in ice. Not to mention this is after taking that attack from Goku, which probably surged through his entire body. Goku's not really too sure either. He just made a really strong attack with the help of everyone else, and that was that. In his eyes, it was nothing special, but maybe that is the case. So everyone lowers their guard, and then Broly tries to talk. He has no clue where he is, or who these people are. He doesn't even remember how he got here. He doesn't remember anything, actually, but they seem to know him. His name's Broly? Vegeta can't believe it either. He really forgot everything. It's just like Kakarot. When he was dropped on his head as a kid, that made him forget everything. Seeing it happen to an adult Saiyan is pretty crazy, but he guesses anything is possible. He's more surprised that Broly's actually alive. He thought Kakarot would have finished him off for good. I mean, it's too big of a risk to just trust this as is, so they need to test this out a bit more. And maybe it's still better to kill him anyways, at least in Vegeta's eyes. Sure, he's fine now. But on New Planet Vegeta, they saw how quickly he could change. What if something does set him off and turns him into the legendary Super Saiyan again? They bring Broly up to the lookout, telling them that they're going to heal him, and that's kind of true. They're going to heal him if Dende says that he's all good. Up on the lookout, Dende, Popo, and even Piccolo try to observe him. His heart, his mind, everything. Even Korn comes up there too. It's insane. It's just like Goku. He feels completely pure. His energy feels like Gohan's, if anything. That's kind of crazy to them because he was like the incarnation of the devil before, but he's actually become a clean slate. It doesn't even sound real. They don't know what to do either. Despite being low-key traumatized by Broly's power, Vegeta still kinda does want to see it and fight him. Krillin thinks it might be best to get rid of Broly, but they don't know what to do with him because if he really is pure of heart right now and doesn't remember anything at all, that's kinda not really a good thing to do. And Piccolo's about to say something about that, but you know what? That would be a bit hypocritical. He tried to take over the Earth and kill everyone before. Twice when we count King Piccolo. And Vegeta's right there too. He tried to blow up the Earth and he did kill a bunch of people. Across multiple planets, actually. And Gohan wonders if they could maybe find a new ally within him. I mean, look at Vegeta. He kinda mellowed out. So there's a really weird adjustment period where they don't really know what to do with Broly. But they come to see that this is completely genuine. He's lost all of his memories. He doesn't know who any of them are, and he doesn't know what happened. He doesn't know who he is. But most important of all, he seems to be completely good now. But there still is that concern about that power that's within him. What's going to happen when that eventually comes out? Because if they keep him around long enough, surely it's going to come out soon. He is a Saiyan after all, so he's probably going to like fighting. And what happens when he gets into a fight, and then that power gets unleashed? Gohan has been training, and he's confident in his power. He thinks that if something happens with Broly, he'll be able to stop him. Eventually, he kind of adjusts to life on Earth. Gohan shows him around, and the others all try and think of what to do with him because, first of all, they don't know where to keep him, or how to get him adjusted to society, or if maybe he'll get his memory back or something, but it seems like that's not going to be the case. Vegeta thinks it's kind of ridiculous. This guy was such a huge enemy before, figuratively and literally, but now they're parading him around like an old man who forgets who he is. So, he decides to try something. He takes matters into his own hands. He's going to train with Broly. He wants to see if he could still fight, because at least some of that has to be instinct. Even if he forgot who he was, fighting is ingrained within a Saiyan's body. He probably still can fight. So Vegeta tries to spar with him one day, telling Broly that he's not going to hold back because he knows Broly has that power locked away somewhere. Gohan's there too just in case. Vegeta has unlocked Super Saiyan 2, but Gohan is still above him, especially because he has kept training. Weirdly enough, by now, Broly's even seen Goten, and he didn't even react to that. He has the same exact hair as Goku, and he's still kind of a crying baby, so he probably even heard him cry, and that didn't set him off. They would think something with Vegeta or Goku would be a trigger for him, but neither of that's the case. So maybe Vegeta could trigger something by fighting him. Gohan's watching closely too. He wonders if maybe Broly hasn't fully lost his memory, and that demon is locked away in there somewhere. That's what Vegeta thinks too, and he kind of wants to draw that out. So Vegeta spars with him for a bit, and Broly actually does kind of get back into fighting. It takes him a bit, and he accepts being attacked by Vegeta because apparently he does have this locked away within him, and then it comes down to muscle memory. He can fight. He's not great at it, but as a Saiyan, he does have some skill at least. He did kind of fight brutishly before, but he did know how to fight at least to some extent. And Gohan asks Vegeta if he could try something. He asks Broly if this power looks familiar. Could he do something like this? Broly doesn't know what it is, and he learns it's called Super Saiyan. Broly can turn into a Super Saiyan. They've seen it before. He has that strange version of it that looks almost bluish, but he also of course has the legendary Super Saiyan version where he grows giant and has green hair. And Gohan tries to explain the feeling to him. Tap into his anger. See if he could transform because he's done this before. And feeling that energy, Broly feels like he does kind of know how. Like, it's down to instinct. He still remembers nothing, but things that come down to instincts, like sensing ki and things like that, this at least brings back something, the muscle memory for him. He's holding back his power, but Gohan asks him not to hold back his power. And Piccolo asks Gohan if he's sure about this, but he is sure. And Piccolo's asking because if Gohan actually unleashes the legendary Super Saiyan, they're going to have to fight him right now. But they're prepared. That's what they spent these last few years trying to do. Gohan defeated Cell. He grew stronger after that too. Even without Goku here, they could stop Broly again. So they try pushing him into transforming, and eventually Broly feels like he has something. A golden aura surrounds him, and they all step back, on guard. But it's a surprisingly calm transformation. Well, as calm as a Super Saiyan transformation could be. The golden aura surrounds him, and Broly becomes a Super Saiyan. Although this time it looks like a much more traditional Super Saiyan, with the pale golden hair that the other Saiyans have. Gohan asks Broly to now fight. They haven't seen Broly use this type of Super Saiyan before. It looks kind of just like the regular version of Super Saiyan. Piccolo and Vegeta are a bit confused too. But this might be a good sign because it's at least normal. Well, as normal as a Super Saiyan can be. So Broly tries to fight Gohan, also trying to get used to his new power. Well, not really new power, it's power that he had this whole time, but new to him because he doesn't remember accessing this. His power is controlled, and he didn't even know he could do this. He fights Gohan for a bit and gets acclimated to it. And this clearly is very different from that legendary Super Saiyan form he was using. It's so weird. All these circumstances are weird to them in general, but specifically the fact that now Broly has a regular Super Saiyan form and isn't just going berserk. And Vegeta asks Broly, does he have any sort of power beyond that? He has to, because they remember seeing that before. He doesn't say this outright, but he wants to hear Broly's true thoughts on it first. And Broly isn't quite sure. He just got this form and doesn't even know if he can go beyond it, but he feels like there's something else that he's missing. Like, he can't quite put his finger on it, but maybe if he keeps working on this, he could find something even higher than that. Actually, that reminds him too. They know a lot about his past, and he asks more about it because they don't seem to talk about it much. That could help him in his training too, and he assumes there's a reason for that. Maybe they don't know as much as he thinks they know, or maybe none of it is just relevant. And they're not really sure what to tell him either. So Vegeta comes up with his own thing to talk about. He tells him about the past of the Saiyans and what happened to them, telling him everything about Frieza and how Broly ended up surviving. He conveniently leaves out the part of King Vegeta trying to kill Broly, but instead of hiding everything about Paragus from Broly, he outright tells him. Broly learns he and his father escaped planet Vegeta, and then Paragus went to another planet. He wanted to get revenge on Vegeta, and he never even met Paragus. But they come up with the excuse that he was trying to just kill the other Saiyans because he didn't like other Saiyans. And Broly wonders why they were fighting then, but Piccolo then butts in and tries to come up with his own story for this, and this is kind of a half-truth too. He says that Broly had some sort of uncontrollable power that turned him into something else, and that's why they were asking if he had any power beyond this, at least that he knows of. They encountered him because they were told that someone was going on a rampage destroying things. Someone with immense power that couldn't be stopped by anyone else besides them. What, are they freedom fighters or something? No, they just like fighting strong people. Specifically, Goku does at least. And they heard it was another Saiyan, so of course they wanted to check it out. So this is at least partially true because that's what King Kai did tell Goku about Broly, but of course they are leaving out some of the context of it, but also they're trying to not completely mislead Broly. And Broly could tell that obviously he ended up losing that fight because that's part of why he just forgets everything. He looks down at the scars on his torso. He should be dead now. Whatever final attack hit him, it should have killed him, but somehow he made it through the other side and now is a different person completely. This is a good thing. Again, he doesn't really know much about himself from before or why he was so strong. But this is a second chance at life. Whatever happened before, that's in the past. He could be someone new now. He's already enjoyed his time on Earth so far, and now learning the fact that he tried to kill these people, he's surprised that they were so kind to him, and he also gets why they almost tried to kill him right away when they found him. He knows more about his past and more about his power. But that does worry him, though. He has that uncontrollable power locked away, apparently it turned him into something completely different. But Gohan says he shouldn't worry about it. He should use it as a strength if anything. He's clearly already changed a lot, so maybe that power's different too. They won't know until he fully taps into it, but at least for now he has regular Super Saiyan, so they don't need to worry about that. So what exactly was he before? They said he turned into something else, and from what they know, he kind of had a personality change when he transformed, and had a lot of uncontrollable anger. They don't know if it was because of the transformation, because of who he was, or whatever. They didn't know much about Broly to begin with. What they do know is that he's the legendary Super Saiyan, and that form brought out the evil nature within him even more. It's something they'll just have to consider going forward when they keep training. We fast forward some years. One day, Mr. Satan receives an invite to go fight some warriors somewhere. I think you already know what we're doing here. We're doing BROLY. It's funny, I've never actually done this in a What If before, but this is the perfect one to do it in. So it's going to work a little bit differently because, obviously look at how things have gone here, but there's still a lot in place to make this work. So Mr. Satan got an invite from Lord Jaguar. 18, Goten, and Trunks go with him too. What happened here is that people in the village nearby where Broly landed witnessed something falling out of the sky. And then they saw some transforming aliens appear, which was pretty freaky. A green man, 2 humanoids that look like they could change their hair color, and a short man with no nose. Definitely a weird crowd of people. So they didn't see a monster roaming around or whatever, but they saw something fall out of the sky, and then a bunch of alien-looking people showed up. So that led to a lot of the same events that started BROLY in the first place, including the blood of Broly being found near where he landed. Like, all of that was just left behind so people could still find that. And eventually that made its way into the hands of Jaguar, and essentially, all the events of BROLY start pretty much just like normal. Here's where we change some stuff though. When BROLY is actually freed and Goten and Trunks have to fight him, someone else shows up that honestly should have just been there in the first place. Gohan senses all of this, and since he's keeping up with his training and feels this weird surge of power, as well as Goten and Trunks fighting, he decides to intervene. Goten and Trunks are really glad to see him because they don't really know what they're fighting against. They've heard about Broly, but remember, there was no second coming that happened like normal, so Goten and Trunks have never fought Broly. They've met him, but they haven't seen the evil legendary Super Saiyan version of him. But Gohan can instantly recognize what they're fighting. It's just like what he saw on New Planet Vegeta. Well, not the exact same obviously, but the unrestrained power of Broly. Gohan's not the only one who showed up. Somebody else tagged along. Broly himself appears, and he's looking at a weird version of himself. Honestly, when Gohan came here, he wasn't really too sure what he was getting into, and he didn't really expect to fight a mutated clone of Broly. And Broly's just as surprised too, because first of all, how? Second of all, why? And third, it's really freaky. Is this what he looked like when he was the legendary Super Saiyan? Gohan says, not exactly, he wasn't all goopy or mindless. But in terms of him rampaging with uncontrollable power, yeah, that was part of it. And Broly says he wants to fight this monster. It's his fault it's here, and if it's its power, he's definitely superior. He could stop it. And you know, this might actually be a good opportunity for him because Broly hasn't had a real fight. He's had sparring matches and he's trained a bunch, but his last true fight was when he was defeated by Goku. So now Gohan can actually see what he's made of, and he believes Broly has this. There's no reason to think that Broly wouldn't be strong enough to fight this guy. Especially because Broly has access to Super Saiyan and he's trained with it a bunch. He's perfected it completely too. And his version of Super Saiyan changes him more than the other versions of Super Saiyan from everyone else, but it still looks relatively normal in comparison to his other forms. So there's clearly something different about this version of Super Saiyan, but Gohan guesses it's just the closest thing Broly has to what he considers a regular Super Saiyan. Broly has grown much stronger over this time, especially because after being defeated by Goku, he did get a nice increase in power. Plus, he's been training a ton. And he's a much better warrior here. Not that it would be tough for him to fight BROLY in the first place. Especially as a Super Saiyan, he's easily able to win this match, and the entire facility is destroyed too. He's still just really shocked to see that there's this weird clone of him, but at least that's dealt with and he got a chance to actually fight here. And thankfully everyone got out of there safe, including Mr. Satan, who didn't really know what to expect from all this. But Broly asked Gohan, was that really the type of power he had? Not exactly. It seemed like that monster was utilizing it somehow, but it wasn't exactly what Broly had before. He still needs to work towards legendary Super Saiyan if he even still has it. Broly's been kind of terrified about it this entire time too. But there's nothing to be worried about. A little bit more time passes. Now we're at the end of the 7-year time skip. There's been a couple substantial changes. Gohan, Vegeta, and Piccolo are all stronger because they have been training a lot more thanks to Broly. And of course, Broly's here too. That's the elephant in the room. Gohan still did become the Great Saiyaman, by the way. And now a tournament's coming up too, which also means Goku's coming back. That's going to be a lot of fun, especially because now Broly will actually get to meet him. Broly is also entered into the tournament too. This will be a great opportunity for him, and of course it means he's going to get to meet Goku, who he's heard a lot about. Apparently Goku was the guy who also defeated him, so there's that. And for the first time, Broly does get to see Goku in person. At least for the first time after losing his memory. He has obviously seen Goku before. And Goku is pretty serious at first because he wonders how Broly's going to react to this. Like, he heard his voice, he's seen pictures of him, he's heard about him, he's heard his name, and none of that set Broly off, but he wonders if Broly feeling his ki and seeing him up close will trigger anything. Maybe that will turn him into the legendary Super Saiyan again, which would be pretty bad, especially because they're around a bunch of people at the tournament who are just spectating. But he's been fine this entire time, so he should be fine going forward too. And as he introduces himself to Broly, he can see that Broly clearly has no ill intentions, and he's pretty normal. Although, feeling Goku's ki, it makes him feel like he should be remembering something, but he doesn't. So there is a bit of an effect. Goku sticks a hand out, and Broly shakes it. And slowly, Broly does feel a little bit of a memory coming back. It's not him being defeated, it's not Goku crying, it's not King Vegeta stabbing him. No, it's Broly transforming, him becoming completely unrestrained. Now, this doesn't just instantly reverse him. It's more akin to what happened to Goku during the Granola arc when he remembered his parents. Like, this didn't just turn him into Kakarot. It just meant he actually remembered a little bit of his past. And that's what Broly's experiencing here. He remembers now, that transformation, that power that's deep within him. And then he just gets a little bit worried and runs off. Which is weird because, like, after seeing Broly before, it's strange for Goku to see him acting like this. But apparently this is how he is. He's pretty reserved and actually kind of kind. Gohan says he'll handle this, so he goes to find Broly, and Broly got away from Goku because he kind of panicked. He remembered what he did, and a lot of it flooded back. Not all of it, but he kind of remembers his rampage. But more starts flooding back. He remembers a lot about New Planet Vegeta. And he remembers Paragus being there too. Why didn't they tell him about all those other details? And Gohan says honestly, they were worried about how it would affect him. And Broly's actually not too concerned about all that stuff. He's panicking now because of him losing control before. He remembers that, and he doesn't want that to happen again. He's confident and comfortable with who he is now. He's not going back to his old self, but that fear of that power getting unleashed again, that's still there, and it's amplified because now he actually got to experience more of what happened. He remembers this stuff now. He remembers the pain and evilness flowing through him when he transformed. It was like his body exploded. He can remember it vividly. As Gohan's trying to talk to him, the two of them then suddenly feel pain and fall to the ground. All their energy is drained. Spopovich and Yamu are standing nearby. They weren't really too sure about this, but decided to strike. Each of them has their own energy absorption device, and they took energy from Broly and Gohan. This should be more than enough to revive Buu. The best part is, they didn't even need to fight or coax them into transforming. That power was actually flowing through Broly when he felt this, and he was trying to keep it under control, but it wasn't going to be a problem anyways. Just from the combined power of their bases alone, this should satisfy Babidi. They don't know if it's going to be enough to actually revive Buu fully, but maybe it'll be a good amount. A few people see Spopovich and Yamu flying away, and Goku started to look for Broly and Gohan too, and he found them, calling the others over. They also saw those two weird people flying away as well. But just as they find Gohan and Broly, two other people appear, Shin and Kibito. And Piccolo could tell that something's definitely up with them. They didn't expect things to turn out like this, but it looks like they have to deal with it now. And at least they kind of know the direction in which Spopovich and Yamu are headed, although they're going to need to catch up quick. And they ask if the others can join too. They need to help stop Majin Buu, and of course nobody knows what the hell they're talking about. Shin simply says a monster is about to awaken. He'll explain on the way, but he needs their help. What just happened to Gohan and Broly is that their energies were stolen in order to revive Buu. They're not too sure what to think, but then Piccolo then reveals who they are. This is the Supreme Kai. They learn how high up he is, and he doesn't have a reason to mislead them here. But they need to decide quick, and they don't really want to go because they just got here at the tournament and they of course want to fight. But it looks like that's going to have to wait. So, unfortunately, they all have to abandon the tournament, and they follow Spopovich and Yamu, with Gohan and Broly being healed by Kibito. It all happened so fast. Shin didn't realize they were planning to strike that early, and hopefully they didn't get too much energy. The thing is, they also do know about Broly. Of course, they heard about him, especially after his rampage in the South Galaxy. And seeing him up close definitely is interesting. They know he came to Earth and apparently became good. And now they're actually seeing him in the flesh. It's really weird. Just as interesting as the fact that energy was stolen from Broly too. Knowing how powerful he was, they feel like that might actually be able to push Buu over the edge and get him revived. They really hope that's not the case, and they hope Broly can actually help out here. With his power, they might be able to stop Buu even if he is revived, but they're not sure if he could even control that power. There are a lot of variables here, and Shin and Kibito do catch everyone up to speed, but still, they don't know how this is all going to go down because things have already changed so much. They didn't expect to have to follow Spopovich and Yamu this early. Spopovich and Yamu arrived back at Babidi's ship, providing him with the energy. It was a good thing they had two devices because they knew Broly was going to be there and he'd be a good target, as well as Gohan. Both of them were targets, and they should be able to fuel Buu. He kills Spopovich and Yamu and wonders if this will be enough to actually revive him right now. And just as he enters the ship, he then feels that some of the others arrived here, so he sends Dabura out to fight them. Dabura watches as they get close, ready to strike. Dabura attacks the group, and Gohan immediately blocks it. The first fight against Babidi's crew begins as Gohan faces Dabura. Goku watches pretty closely because he wants to see how Gohan's grown. But Vegeta, Broly, and Piccolo know he has this in the bag. They've seen what Gohan's been up to, and he's definitely not rusty here. Pretty quickly, he ends up defeating Dabura, especially because Shin urges him to defeat Dabura quickly because they don't want to give too much more energy to Babidi. They don't know how much he has already, and any more could be really bad. So, pretty quickly, Gohan ends the fight, and ends up killing Dabura too, and then they rush into the ship. But it seems like it's already too late. Before they even fight anyone inside the ship, Babidi has already started feeding the energy to Buu's egg, and it was a good idea to absorb energy from two people at once. The best thing is, with all those memories coursing through Broly's head, that made his power actually surge even though he didn't transform. Not much was stolen from Gohan because he was in base when his power was taken, but for Broly it was almost like his full power was there. And with the two of them combined, Babidi is shocked to see that he has more than enough energy to actually revive Buu, so by the time everyone gets into the ship, Buu is already in the process of awakening. Spopovich and Yamu got all the energy needed, and then some. They back out of the ship, and then Babidi comes outside with the egg, and they all watch as it hatches, with Buu being freed once more. Shin thinks it's all over for them. He was hoping they could stop Buu from being revived, but now that he's here, they won't be able to. He's too strong. and sensing his power, they could tell he's definitely powerful. But Goku's first instinct is to look at Broly. He asks if he could tap into that power he used before when they fought. Does he remember that? And now Broly does, but he just got it revealed to him again, and he doesn't really know if he wants to use that here. What if he loses control and becomes an even worse monster than Buu? That's fine. Maybe they could all just fight together and that'll actually defeat him. Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan all go Super Saiyan 2. Goku's not going to Super Saiyan 3 just yet, but he does have that up his sleeve. And as for Broly, he doesn't transform at all, and Vegeta asks what he's doing. He kind of backs down a bit. He can't become that same monster again. Now that he remembers that completely and knows the feeling of turning to the legendary Super Saiyan, he doesn't even want to turn regular Super Saiyan because he worries that he'll just destroy everything in the process. But he still is going to fight, just in his base. So the four all team up and start fighting Buu. They are actually making good progress because, well, obviously Gohan and Vegeta are stronger than normal, and it's a 4v1 with 3 Super Saiyan 2s plus base Broly. And this is pushing Buu back. And Shin's getting some hope seeing this because he didn't think they'd be able to fight Buu off like that. Plus, Goku's still not at full power yet. He knows if he uses Super Saiyan 3, he's going to shorten his time here on Earth, and he's only going to use that if absolutely necessary. But then, Babidi tries something that he hasn't really thought of, especially because of how dangerous it is. He wants to keep Buu under his control, but he's going to lose if Buu just dies right away, so he might need to power up Buu some more, and maybe he can do that. Buu is obviously being held back by something within him, and that's good. But at the same time, Babidi might need to get rid of that. So he starts looking into Buu's mind. It's very risky on Babidi's behalf, because Buu might become uncontrollable, but hey, he could always seal Buu away again if he needs. And as they're fighting Buu, they notice him hold on to his head, and he screams out in pain. Buu is evil, but that full evil isn't being utilized right now. Babidi's trying to draw it out even further, and essentially, he's trying to make the evil side of Buu take over the good side of Buu. Buu begins warping. For a moment, he even turns gray, and looks a bit different, and then he just warps into something else completely beyond them. There's a huge cloud of steam as Buu's ki surges. Babidi didn't expect this, but hey, it seems to have worked. Buu's definitely powered up. He's not being held back by that goodness within him, and he's a lot more coherent too. Pretty much on accident, Babidi basically speedran the process of turning Buu into Super Buu. No need for Buu to split into good and evil Buu, and have evil Buu absorb a good Buu. That's basically what just happened here. And now we have Super Buu fighting the group. Babidi did know this is going to be risky, but Buu's not even focused on him right now. And he should be able to control Buu later on by threatening to seal him away. But Buu's a bit smarter now, and a bit more cunning. He knows that Babidi did this, and he knows why Babidi did this too. And he also knows Babidi has power over him, so while Buu is fighting the others, he takes an opportunity here. At one point, Goku hits him with a blast, and a piece of Buu flies off. He regenerates it, but that piece of him that flew off, he keeps it over there, and slowly it moves towards Babidi. Babidi's focused on the actual fight and doesn't even notice this happening. And Buu doesn't kill Babidi. He absorbs him. Babidi is caught by that piece of Buu, and then that assimilates with him, giving Buu a really nice power-up in terms of magic, and a lot more intelligence. They thought Buu couldn't have powered up that much from whatever Babidi did, but now he actually is noticeably stronger, both in terms of magic and strength. More importantly, he's a lot smarter though. Goku looks to Broly again. He really needs to break out that power that he has. And Goku's also going to bring out some more of his own. And he showcases Super Saiyan 3, shocking everyone. He really wants to make this fight quick because if he uses this power too long, he's not going to have much time to fight here anyways. The fight is pretty even now with Goku having powered up and Buu having powered up too. But the issue is Buu has a much wider range of abilities now thanks to his magic. Not that he didn't have access to magic before, but now he has everything that Babidi could do. Plus, he knows he could just absorb people, and they know he absorbed Babidi somehow, but they didn't necessarily see it. So maybe he can catch them off guard. Probably not all of them at once, but at least one or two of them. He has multiple ways of absorbing them. He could do it through direct contact, he could rip off a piece of himself, he could maybe even turn them into candy and then eat them. They don't know what he's capable of. And then, he finally gets his chance. At one point, Gohan gets in close to fight him. Close enough where Buu could actually make direct contact with him too. And Gohan obviously knows to watch out because Buu just absorbed Babidi, but they didn't see exactly how he did it, so he's not exactly sure what to be careful of. What he doesn't realize is that Buu could just grab onto him and absorb him that way. So as Gohan lands an attack, instead of countering, Buu welcomes it. Gohan punches him, and Buu softens himself, catching Gohan's fist with his body, and then wrapping the rest of himself around Gohan, quickly and easily absorbing him, with no one being able to see it coming. Pretty quickly, Buu just went through a bunch of different forms, and has powered up significantly. Babidi unleashing his evil side wasn't really a great idea because that led to him getting stronger, then absorbing Babidi, then getting smarter, and then figuring out he could just absorb the others pretty quickly. Now they have one less fighter, and even worse, it means that Buu is stronger. And if they kill him, that means they're also killing Gohan too, which isn't too big of an issue. They do have the Dragon Balls, but it still is an issue. And seeing Gohan get absorbed of course gets Goku and Broly angry, and especially with Broly, this means some of his powers coming out. But he still holds himself back because he is worried. And Goku reminds Broly he can defeat Buu. He's sure of it. If Broly actually shows his full power here, there's no way he can't stop Buu, even with Gohan's power. He's been holding back this whole time, not even using regular Super Saiyan. And Vegeta says he just needs to unleash his power. Don't be worried about the consequences. Because there won't be any. But Broly is worried. He remembers everything. He destroyed everything in his path. Multiple times. He's not like that anymore. And Goku says that's exactly right. He's not like that anymore. But they can't do anything against Buu as is right now. And imagine he absorbs the rest of them too. Next, Buu aims for Vegeta. quickly dashing across the battlefield and fighting him alone. With a single hit, he takes Vegeta out, then lifts him up and absorbs him in front of Goku and Broly's eyes. This is such a fun strategy for him, just absorb everyone and grow stronger that way. He's already unstoppable, and he might as well make himself even more unstoppable. And Goku reminds Broly, Earth is going to be destroyed regardless if Broly doesn't transform. So even if Broly's afraid of that risk, why not transform? What are the options here? Let Buu destroy everything, or at least have a fighting chance against him and maybe everything gets destroyed, but there still is that chance they could win. Broly needs to stop being so concerned about his power. If he truly wants to control it, he needs to try it. He can't just keep it locked away forever. And Goku is right. He finally sees it now. Well, if Buu's gonna destroy everything regardless, it probably doesn't matter if he unleashes his power. He remembers how he transformed before, and he doesn't hold back. First, he goes into regular Super Saiyan, and nothing bad happens. But then he starts powering up even further, and Goku feels that exact same power he felt years ago. And while he's trying to act confident, it is a little bit worrying to sense this again, especially since Broly's grown so much stronger. And even Buu watches on confused because he didn't think Broly would showcase that type of power. Now he has the knowledge of Gohan and Vegeta, but still, this is shocking to him. And while he's transforming, Buu tries to go in and stop it, but he can't even get close to Broly. The aura that he's letting off, it creates almost a barrier around him that knocks everything away. Shin, Kibito, Piccolo, and Krillin, they're all sent flying, and Goku has to brace himself. It feels like the whole Earth is shaking. Not just that, but everything else around it. Across the universe this is felt. And then he stops powering. For the first time in many years, Broly's become the legendary Super Saiyan again. And briefly he feels a sense of rage, letting out a sadistic laugh, but then that subsides. He recollects himself. That power did take hold of him for a second, but he feels normal. He even looks over to Goku and says his name. The fact that he didn't say Kakarot's probably a good sign too. But Broly says he has control. He knows what he has to do here. He then vanishes from sight, and then Buu is sent flying up into space. And then appearing in front of him is Broly. Within that split second, Broly moved behind Buu, hit him with an attack, and then threw him into the atmosphere. And now they're fighting up here. And Broly's somehow fine in space. Oh yeah, Goku forgot he was kind of capable of that. He hits Buu with a single attack, and half of Buu is destroyed. He regenerates from this, but now he tries to attack Broly and he can't do anything. The tides have completely shifted. If Broly transformed before, Buu definitely wouldn't have been able to do anything anyways, but even here, with all of his power-ups and his new intelligence, it's not going to be enough against Broly. Broly then grabs onto Buu's antenna, swinging him around above him, then throwing him down to the earth below. And right before he crashes into the surface, Broly gets there first, catching him, hitting him with a devastating gut punch. An attack so powerful, Buu accidentally spits up Vegeta and Gohan, but quickly absorbs them again. And Broly sees now. He thinks he has a way of freeing them. He slams Buu's head between both of his hands, sending a powerful shockwave through him and also just paralyzing him for a brief moment. Broly then grabs onto his jaw, opens his mouth, and then reaches down inside of Buu. Shin and Kibito wonder what he's doing, and Piccolo thinks he's trying to free Gohan and Vegeta. They don't even know if this is going to work, but Broly then does grab onto something, and then he pulls a couple things outside of Buu. Gohan, Vegeta, and Fat Buu, which is weird. They don't know how another version of Buu's in there, but that's the good Buu that was suppressed by Babidi. And Buu starts warping. He transforms, and now he's in a new form. He turns into Kid Buu, which terrifies Shin because he remembers seeing this version of Buu before, and he's completely uncontrolled. But that doesn't matter to Broly. Before Buu could even act, Broly grabs onto him once more, and places another hand on Buu's torso. A small green blast comes out of it, and then Buu flies up into the sky. The energy starts to expand further and further, and Buu is completely obliterated as there's a powerful green explosion. And Broly watches on laughing. Not in a sadistic way, but just laughing because he's having a lot of fun now. He's no longer restraining himself, but he still kept a sense of himself. He then powers down, going back to normal. And Goku's really glad to see this. Not just because Broly's really strong, but he has a full control in his power. Shin and Kibito breathe a sigh of relief, and then Gohan and Vegeta wake up, learning that Broly actually did break out that power. They definitely have a lot to work on now. So, as for the tournament, this fight with Buu did start before the tournament started, and it did go pretty fast. Thankfully, Mr. Satan was able to stall before the tournament started because a lot of contestants just up and left, but now they're all back. So, the tournament starts and it can actually go normally. Only issue is, Smokovich and Yamu are out, so they get replaced by some other people. Not a big deal though. Everyone gets to enjoy the tournament and have fun without a bunch of people dying for once. Let's skip to the semifinals of the tournament. The first match is Gohan versus Broly, which Broly ends up winning, and then the other semifinals match is Goku versus Vegeta. And now Vegeta knows that Goku has the extra form beyond Super Saiyan 2, but Goku doesn't really want to use it because he already wasted a lot of his time here on Earth, and this will cut it even shorter. Although it does kind of irk Vegeta because he doesn't want Goku to hold back just for that. So Goku does go Super Saiyan 3, and he wins that fight. At least Vegeta knows where he stands. And now we get to the final match of the tournament, Goku versus Broly. It's pretty cool to Goku because he never thought he'd be fighting alongside Broly, especially after what happened when he last encountered him. And after fighting alongside him, now he gets to fight against him again, but this time in better circumstances, and it's not a desperate death match. Goku really hopes he gets to see Broly more after this, but he holds nothing back here, using Super Saiyan 3 again, even if it is going to shorten his time. And he asks Broly not to hold back either, and Broly transforms into his legendary Super Saiyan form once more, although the fight is very brief. Pretty quickly, Broly ends up winning the tournament and becomes the champion. Mr. Saiyan's terrified because he's probably going to have to fight against BROLY. Although, just as luck, he doesn't even need to. Not that it would have been a problem for him. He could definitely defeat BROLY. Anyways, now with that all done, Goku's going to be going back to Otherworld pretty soon. He spends some more time with his friends and family here, as well as getting to know BROLY a bit more. Rather, the new BROLY. It would be nice to see BROLY again soon, although just not in Otherworld because that would mean BROLY's dead. He'll find some other way to come back here soon enough. Not just for BROLY, but for everybody else. And he thanks Goku. Without him, well, he doesn't even know if he'd be able to tap into this power again. It's because of Goku that he got his memory back, and then later accessed this form after being scared of it. And you know, something's really weird about BROLY calling him Goku. Like, Vegeta calls him Kakarot, and he's used to BROLY calling him Kakarot too. So, when he says thanks to Goku, Goku says BROLY can call him Kakarot instead. It feels much more natural to hear that from BROLY, and that's one of the few people he's fine with calling him Kakarot. Goku says his goodbyes, and then goes back to Otherworld. A couple years pass after the Buu saga, and Beerus eventually wakes up from his slumber. He can't quite remember what he was dreaming of, but he knows it involved the Saiyans, so he tries to look around for any Saiyans. Apparently there's a really strong dead one who lives on King Kai's planet, and it's also kind of interesting that there's a Saiyan in heaven, because usually they just go to hell. So Beerus decides to check that out, and ends up meeting Goku. Goku has grown a lot stronger in the meantime, but obviously not going to be strong enough to make a difference against Beerus. Still, he'd probably leave a pretty good impression, and Beerus would think he's powerful for mortal standards. Although, the more important thing is that he learns that there's other Saiyans out there. They all live on Earth right now, and Goku tells him about one specific one named BROLY. Goku's not really too sure what his power is, but it's something called the legendary Super Saiyan, and this piques Beerus' interest. He knows he was dreaming about something like that. He couldn't really put his finger on what it was, and he felt like it was called a Super Saiyan God or something, but maybe it was that. Maybe it was legendary Super Saiyan. I mean, just look at the name, it sounds legendary. So, the next stop for Beerus is Earth, of course. It was nice to meet Goku, though, and maybe he'll see more of him. King Kai decides it's best to warn everyone on Earth, so he does that, and Goku tries to speak to them too. He can't really go there because he already used his day from Baba, but hopefully they're going to be okay. As for the time frame, we'll just say that this does happen around the same exact time, so Beerus shows up during Bulma's birthday party. And things start pretty normally too. Majin Buu is actually here this time, so there's going to be a pudding incident too, I'd assume. The good thing is Beerus already knows who he's looking for. He was enjoying the festivities of this party, but now it's time to fight. From what he heard, Broly's the legendary Super Saiyan. Now, he has no clue what a legendary Super Saiyan is, but he thinks that might be what he's looking for. Although, he feels like he had a different name in mind. But whatever that name was, he's kind of forgetting it, and maybe this is actually the correct name. So he immediately starts to fight BROLY. Learning more about his power and what he's capable of. BROLY also explains how he got here. And Beerus is really excited to see his power now, and he can't wait any longer. He wants BROLY to go all out right from the start. So, BROLY obliges, transforming into his legendary Super Saiyan form once more. He hasn't used this since the Buu saga, at least not in an actual battle. He's of course trained with it a bunch. He's grown a lot more accustomed to it, and now he feels a lot safer using it. After using it against Buu, he finally realized he actually can control this. And he's trained over the past few years as well. There's such a huge gap in power between him and everyone else. Since Goku remained dead and is basically training 24/7, he's grown a lot too, and that's who Beerus is going to compare him to. But Beerus is really surprised at how much stronger BROLY is. When Goku said he was stronger, he didn't think it would be by this much. As the legendary Super Saiyan with all these years of training with great training partners on Earth as well, BROLY's not only grown stronger, but has become a much more well-rounded fighter too. And by far, Beerus could tell that he's the strongest mortal. And Beerus doesn't even realize that this isn't what he was looking for. Of course, he was looking for the Super Saiyan God. So Beerus did have a dream about the Super Saiyan God. The thing is, he's not meeting the Super Saiyan God right now. But he assumes that this does line up with his dream. So little does Beerus know, this isn't even who he's looking to fight. But he fits the bill. He's some sort of legend. And sure, he's not as strong as Beerus, but he's far stronger than any other mortal, and Beerus actually does have to try a little bit, which is unheard of. He's only using a small fraction of his power, but against all the other mortals, like Goku for example, and probably Vegeta and Gohan who I'd assume he'd fight, he barely needed to try. BROLY actually does have a lot of power. So that settles it. Beerus is definitely going to keep Earth around, and BROLY's going to be his rival. He considers this a very productive day. He found a great planet with great food, and a Saiyan who seems to be the strongest mortal in this universe. But still, something's bugging Beerus. Like, the fact that this guy isn't a godly rival. He at least expected that, but maybe that's going to come in the future. Although, if he were to train under Whis, BROLY could probably get access to godly ki, because right now, Beerus doesn't feel any of that within him. But that's all he needed right now. He returns to his planet, and says he will be back here eventually. Not just for BROLY, but for the food too, of course. So, I don't think it's even fair to call this the Battle of Gods arc, because Beerus was the only god in that fight. No Super Saiyan God was born, and no one has access to godly ki yet. Although seeing this fight, it makes Vegeta realize how truly far behind he is. He knows Broly's gifted, like he's long accepted this. Broly's been on Earth for over a decade by this point. Vegeta's the third strongest right now behind Gohan, who's far behind BROLY. But Gohan's kind of dialing it back a bit because now he's starting a family, and he's training consistently. He does have something to fight for, but now he's a little bit busier, so maybe Vegeta has a chance to pull ahead right now, even with Gohan's great potential. He and Gohan were trying to work towards Super Saiyan 3, but they didn't access it for themselves yet, especially because they were aware of some sort of flaw. Goku did mention that using it would consume so much power that it would shorten his time on Earth, and they realized that the form might be very draining. They don't really know the extent to which it is actually draining though, because they only saw a dead Goku fight as it, not a living Goku. That's where they're aiming next, but maybe there's something even beyond that. And Vegeta really wants to find what his next course of action is, especially if Super Saiyan 3 is not going to be reliable for him. And all the while, after meeting Beerus, Goku decides to do his own research in Otherworld, because Beerus did mention something interesting to him. He wanted to fight a godly Saiyan rival. Through King Kai, he watched the battle between Broly and Beerus, and he also picked up on what they were saying. So maybe there is something missing. He feels like Beerus didn't truly get what he was looking for. Could there be some sort of godly Super Saiyan power out there that Goku doesn't know of? There's only going to be one way to find out. He really needs to start doing his research, and he's in the perfect place to do so. Otherworld is very rich in terms of historical knowledge. There's a bunch of people here that might know these sort of legends. And after being here for so long, he's definitely made a bunch of great connections, not just with mortals that came here, but also the gods that are in Otherworld, such as the other Kaio and even guardians from other planets. Well, looks like his best course of action is asking anyone who's even remotely related to a god. Plus, he's going to do a bunch of extra training too. Some time passes. Beerus eventually does return to Earth, enjoying some food there, and he also brings Broly back to his planet with him. He's going to be training under Whis. But before Broly leaves, Vegeta butts in. He's going to try and get on Beerus' radar. Now, in terms of power, he doesn't think Beerus has any reason to choose him, because Broly is so far ahead of him, so he'll try to get Beerus' attention another way, through food. Here he actually has an advantage. Capsule Corp has no shortage of chefs, and Vegeta has been practicing cooking himself a bit too. So with the food, he tries to convince Beerus and Whis, and he promises them, if they ever come back to Earth again, he'll make sure they get the best food, and they'll always be trying something different. I think this would be enough to sway Beerus, especially because he really likes food as a gift. And even though Vegeta is much weaker than Broly, he'll take Vegeta along because he does have knowledge about the Saiyans, and maybe he could help Broly find something new. It wouldn't really hurt to take Vegeta. Also, he makes Broly put a good word in for him. Not realizing the irony in this because the whole reason he met Vegeta in the first place was because he was going to kill him. It's nice to see how far he's come. Although Beerus doesn't really see how Vegeta is going to end up being his rival or anything, but he guesses it wouldn't hurt taking him to his planet. A little bit more time passes. Broly and Vegeta fight on here a lot, and of course Broly does have to hold back a bunch, using just his regular Super Saiyan form, while Vegeta uses Super Saiyan 2 and eventually Super Saiyan 3, then realizing the massive flaw with Super Saiyan 3. But he worked towards this because he wants to push himself as much as he can, and he really can't think of anything else. But after some time, Vegeta stumbled upon something really strange. By training under Whis, he and Broly eventually do pick up on Godly Ki. Combine that with the fact that they're constantly training, and each of them grows in a different way. For Broly, that Godly Ki gets absorbed within him. He gets a decent boost from it, but he doesn't get a new form. The reason I'm going this route is because I don't know if the legendary Super Saiyan form would be compatible with Godly Ki like that, at least in the sense that it was with Goku and Vegeta. It will be compatible in some other way, but for now he's not getting the Super Saiyan God form. So it's not that it doesn't do anything for him, it's just that Broly's going down a completely different path from Vegeta because his power is just innately different. As for Vegeta though, he gets something new. He ends up unlocking a brand new form, a completely godly Super Saiyan form, which Beerus dubs Super Saiyan God. That's what he dreamt of. That's what he was thinking of. This whole time, Broly wasn't actually his rival, although he's really powerful and Beerus does like that he's here. But that's what he was looking for, the Super Saiyan God. And this is new. And Whis wonders why they couldn't find that before. Maybe Vegeta just needed the Godly Ki to jumpstart it. But both of them are pretty surprised. And it's a good thing Vegeta got it because Beerus wasn't even really looking for it anymore. What does that mean for Broly though? What kind of godly form will he get? Right after Vegeta transforms, someone teleports in. It's Goku. He doesn't realize that he ended up on Beerus' planet, but he actually sensed this ki. Actually, both of them. He felt Broly as a legendary Super Saiyan, and Vegeta as some sort of new godly form. Well, first off, Beerus thinks this is incredibly rude. He knows Goku, but he should erase him for just coming here uninvited. But he has a question for Goku. How did he get here? Well, into transmission, of course. He could teleport to wherever he senses energy, and he felt Vegeta's power. Wait, he felt Vegeta's power? He's using a godly form, though. A mortal shouldn't be able to feel that. Goku does apologize because he didn't realize he wasn't supposed to come here. He didn't know exactly where Vegeta was. But he explains. Yeah, he can sense godly ki, because he figured out the exact same thing Vegeta did, and that's why he came here. He sensed Vegeta was somewhere that wasn't the living world, and he was using a godly form, so he decided it would be worth it to head over here. He's been training the same way and completely changed his outlook. Plus, thanks to him being dead, he's been training 24/7, and he had a head start. Vegeta had to spend some time waiting for Beerus to return to Earth, but basically right after meeting Beerus, Goku started his own training, and by asking around in Otherworld and learning more info about the Saiyans, Goku eventually heard of something brand new, the legend of the Super Saiyan God. Apparently the form could be obtained through a ritual, and there weren't any Saiyans around him that he could use. There were some in the living world, of course, which would have been perfect, but he didn't need to do that. Plus, he wanted to see if he can go about it another way too. This kind of annoys Vegeta a bit, because why wouldn't he tell him? And Goku did have a pretty good reason. He wanted to see if the form could be obtained through some other means first, because he knows doing it through a ritual wouldn't be satisfying, especially if there was another method that came down the line. And Goku then transforms. Through training and picking up on Godly Ki, he accessed this form as well. It was a bit tougher, especially because he didn't have Beerus and Whis around him constantly. But he's in a place full of amazing warriors, and he actually ran into some that had Godly Ki themselves. But he didn't think it would lead to this. Beerus is really impressed. He's using all the perks of Otherworld. Although he wishes he found out Goku was a Super Saiyan God sooner, but it does make sense. He never checked in on Goku. That was his own fault, because he did see that Goku was a pretty great warrior even though he was weak by his standards. So Goku then asks where they are. Beerus explains that this is his planet and it's a completely separate realm. So even though Goku is dead, Beerus decides that Goku can stay here if he wants, and he could teleport between here and Otherworld. Meanwhile, King Kai's freaking out because Goku just teleported away, and he realizes that Goku probably teleported directly to Beerus. But he eventually finds out that Beerus keeps Goku around, and now there's 3 Saiyans on his planet: Goku, Vegeta, and Broly. It's a shame Goku can't go to the living world because, well, he's dead. But at least he can go here and see Broly and Vegeta a bunch. Not to mention, train a lot more, especially because he's dead and he doesn't need to sleep. So while Broly and Vegeta sleep, Goku trains away. While those 3 are training on Beerus' planet, the Dragon Balls are gathered on Earth by the Frieza Force, and they revive Frieza. Frieza spends a little bit of time training, and then heads back to Earth. From his army, he hears that there was some Saiyan that destroyed an entire galaxy or something. They don't know the full details, but that confuses Frieza. A Saiyan destroying a whole galaxy? First of all, what Saiyan would even be capable of that? And second of all, there's another out there? Well, he'll deal with that later. First, he'll get his revenge, and maybe he will find some clues about who this other Saiyan is. He heads back to Earth, ready to kill Goku. But when he gets there, there's no Goku. There's no Vegeta either, and no Broly. Not that he even knows who that is. And you might think Earth is unprepared right now, but no, they're perfectly fine. Piccolo's stronger than normal, and so is Gohan. Gohan never really stopped training. Even though he pulled back a bit because of his family, that was only recently, and he didn't grow weaker. He just slowed his growth a bit. So ever since defeating Cell, Gohan's only been growing stronger and stronger, and he feels like he can take on Frieza here. The 2 of them start to fight, and it becomes pretty clear right away that Frieza has grown stronger, but not strong enough to defeat Gohan, at least as he is right now. Gohan fights Final Form Frieza and doesn't even need to transform, but Frieza then reveals that he has a new form, showcasing his golden form. Gohan didn't really expect that, but he's confident here. This is exactly the type of thing he trained for. When they were scared about Broly coming to Earth, Gohan knew that he had to step up because his power was the best shot at defeating him. And now, with Vegeta and Broly on Beerus' planet, Gohan's the strongest person here, by a big margin too. And with the work he's put in, he knows he could win this. And due to how big of a threat Frieza is, he's not going to play around. He goes full power right off the bat. Another reason he's not playing around is because he's using Super Saiyan 3, and he can't really utilize that for too long. So he basically tries to hit Frieza with 100% power right away. And it actually is too much for Frieza to handle. It's not an insta-win for Gohan, but he makes it really quick and he does pull ahead. And especially after Frieza came back as Mecha Frieza, he knows he has to completely destroy Frieza and not leave any chance of that happening again. Gohan ends up winning this battle, killing Frieza and defending Earth. His potential and constant training has taken him this far, and Piccolo's really glad to see this. Gohan has really grown a lot. At some point, the Universe 6 tournament would be set up. Although after seeing the Saiyans on Beerus' planet, Champa's not really too sure how good his chances are. All 3 have been growing a lot stronger. As for Universe 7's team, it's pretty straightforward. It's going to be Goku, Vegeta, and Broly, with Gohan and Piccolo as the next 2. Right off the bat, you can probably tell that this is going to be a match they'll win. Goku's the first one up, and he gets to show off a new form here. Well, not right away, because he starts by pacing himself, but he's never used this in an actual battle, so he pulls it out here, even though it kind of is overkill. He defeats Potamo, and then against Frost, he shows off his newest form, Super Saiyan Blue. Vegeta's also unlocked the same thing, but of course Kakarot's the one to steal the big reveal. The rest of the matches aren't really anything special until we get to Hit. Broly's the last for Universe 7, and Hit's the last for Universe 6. Hit wipes out pretty much anyone who's left, which means the final fight is going to be Hit versus Broly. Broly paces himself too, but he does take Hit seriously because he's an assassin. He hears this guy's really experienced, and in terms of his own experience, Broly has been training a lot. He's grown a ton as a fighter, but he's not like Goku or Vegeta where he's been training his entire life and has the same level of technique as them. In terms of power, yeah, he's more than great, but he knows that his technique still needs to be worked on. So he's a lot more calculated as a fighter because he knows the shortcoming about himself. It was the same as when he held his power back because he was afraid that he'd go back to his old self. Broly is very conscious about how he fights, both when it comes to how he uses his power and how he reacts to the power of other people. Goku was actually one of the people who showed him this. Right now he's holding back just to see what Hit's capable of, and then he's going to show off his full power. When fighting, Broly used to hold back either just so he wouldn't lose control, or just so he wouldn't accidentally kill someone. But now he's holding back to study them, and he finds Hit's time techniques really interesting and also really dangerous at the same time. There's only one way Broly could think of around it: raw power. He knows he doesn't have the technique to work around that here, so he powers up into his legendary Super Saiyan form, terrifying everyone from Universe 6 who isn't familiar with this. Hit still remains confident though, trying to utilize his time skip, but it doesn't work. Broly just breaks right through it. Legendary Super Saiyan is so powerful for him that he's breaking right through that time skip. He doesn't need to predict or anything, he just straight up overpowers Hit, busting right through his time skip and defeating him. The worst part is, Hit could tell that Broly is still holding back something. And he's not doing this to insult Hit. Well, maybe the old Broly would have done it. He's holding back because he simply didn't need that power. But Hit asks if he could see it. He wants to know what he was truly up against. So, Broly obliges, transforming once more. By now he's unlocked his own godly form. Unlike Goku and Vegeta, Super Saiyan God didn't seem to be compatible with him. But he still did have godly ki, and he unlocked something completely different. Physically, there isn't too much of a change. The most notable thing is his hair starts to grow out, but he looks like a regular legendary Super Saiyan. Well, as regular as one of those can look. This form is simply called God BROLY. As the name implies, it's his godly form. The amount of power from it is terrifying. Even someone as stoic as Hit is showing a reaction, and Chop was freaking out. This was rigged from the start. They wouldn't have been able to win anyways. Broly could have just fought alone and he would have won the whole match. But the tournament ends with the Universe 7 obviously being the victor. Oh yeah, and Beerus has a nice little gift for Goku. For participating in this tournament, and for training so long to be his rival, he tells Whis to revive him. He was going to do this anyways, but at least now he has an actual excuse so he doesn't look too benevolent. Goku is now alive again. Of course, Zamasu has been watching this entire thing. He sees how devastating that power was from Broly, and he studies him a bit more, learning some more about his history as well. And it gets him to start thinking. Of course, there's still the whole time travel element because Trunks came here, but when he learns about Broly, he's disgusted. First of all, there's him making the mockery of godly power, but unlike Goku, there's something else about Broly that Zamasu doesn't like. He rampaged through an entire galaxy before, leaving the Kais so helpless that they had to rely on the help from mortals. King Kai had to enlist Goku to help, and that wasn't even his galaxy that got destroyed. It's a shameful act from the Kaio, and a disgusting act from that mortal Broly. It really enrages Zamasu. So let's go over to Trunks' timeline for a bit. What happened there after he returned? Well, of course, Trunks defeated the androids. That all goes perfectly fine. But one day, Shin and Kibito showed on Earth to get help from Trunks. Pretty much right after the defeat of the androids, which is still way later than what happened in the present timeline, Broly became active in the future, rampaging through a galaxy and pretty much doing the same thing he did in the present timeline. So Trunks already knows what he's working with here, but he has no clue how he's supposed to fight Broly alone. The good thing is Paragus didn't come here yet. He might not even know about Trunks or have a plan to kill him, especially because they were going after Vegeta in the first place. By now, Paragus is dead. Broly has killed him at this point. He's rampaged a lot and is basically just doing whatever he wants now. Oh, that's why Paragus never came here. Anyways, Trunks goes at Shin and Kibito and trains under them. He's their best bet at defeating Broly. One thing working in Trunks' favor is that he doesn't think Broly will transform against him. Trunks has no connection to Broly, nothing that could trigger his transformation in the first place. So if he meets Broly while he's untransformed, well, he could easily win the fight there. The problem arises once Broly transforms. So Trunks thinks a surprise attack would work, although there's another issue with that. With Paragus being dead, that means Broly's uncontrolled, so he might not be in his base state. He might just be constantly rampaging. Trunks focuses on his training though. Eventually this leads to him breaking the Z-Sword, and Elder Kai awakens his potential. With this new power-up, it should be more than enough to defeat Broly, even if he is fully powered up. Since this Broly's been uncontrolled for so long, he's growing stronger and stronger by the day. But Trunks just might have the jump on him right now. Especially if he catches Broly while he's off guard and not serious, he could just finish the fight. He doesn't want to have a long drawn-out fight with Broly, he just wants to end it. It's basically an assassination job. Trunks basically chooses a random time to strike, and he's brought over to where Broly is. They catch him on a random planet, and the second Trunks arrives there, he powers up an ultimate, charging all of his energy, and hitting him with the full power Masenko. Broly doesn't even realize what hit him or who hit him. Trunks knows how dangerous Broly is, and he's not messing around. The Masenko hits Broly point blank in his chest, bursting right through him and launching him out into space, being sent flying into a nearby star. Well, that was a really safe way of going about it, and it seemed to be pretty effective. One less loose end for Trunks. He was kind of worried about the fact that Broly never showed up here, so it's good that he got that dealt with. This also has another good side effect because at some point Babbidi's going to show himself, and Trunks is already more than strong enough to fight him and Dabura. So once Babbidi tries to revive Boo, Trunks stops both of them very easily, and Boo is never revived in the future, which also leads to Shin and Kibito surviving here, and by extension, Beerus. So that pretty much tells us everything that's happened in Trunks' timeline so far. We fast forward to where we are now. With Beerus being alive, that's obviously going to be an issue for Zamasu. But he isn't really too concerned. After seeing Broly's power, he thinks that stealing his body will be more than enough. And that's exactly what he does. In an alternate timeline, Zamasu swaps bodies with Broly, and even though he can't fully access his power yet, he's still confident with it. And he does the exact same thing Goku Black did, coming to the future timeline and meeting Zamasu there. Gowasu is killed, and future Zamasu becomes immortal. Now they need to figure out who to kill. So in Universe 7, they obviously need to target Shin so they can kill Beerus in the process. From what they understand, the strongest mortal in this timeline is Trunks. Anyone else strong on Earth is dead, and Broly never came to Earth here either. As they look into the history of Universe 7, they see that Trunks fought Broly at one point, and ended up defeating him, so they don't need to worry about Broly here either. But Broly Black is having some issues. He can't fully control his power yet. It's essentially like what happened with Goku Black, where he didn't get fully used to the body right away, but even worse. Broly has so much power locked away, and the Zamasu in that body can't really figure out how to access it. Although, Broly Black coming here does cause one big issue, something that he didn't expect. His power is sensed by someone far away. Not by the Kais, not by Trunks, another warrior. Broly Black and Zamasu start working around Universe 7, attacking random weak planets just so he can get used to the body. They need to be covert though because they don't want Shin to notice right away, because then they'd have to fight Trunks and he's not sure if he's ready for that yet. But after a few fights he should be good to go. Although when he's fighting here, his energy is felt by one person, someone sensitive enough to it. While ravaging one of the planets, Zamasu senses someone approaching. There's a glowing ball of energy in the sky, and a large figure descends down upon the planet. He's been awakened by the energy of Broly Black. After being dormant for so long, Broly's back. This whole time, future Broly's been alive. He's pretty badly burned, and there's a massive scar in his chest from Trunks, but he's still completely unrestrained and stronger than before. He's been floating through space in a coma. Zamasu can't believe he's even still alive. That just shows the tenacity of the legendary Super Saiyan. But Broly Black is pretty happy. This will be a perfect test of his power. Broly felt the energy of his fellow legendary Super Saiyan. It was himself after all, and that was the catalyst to waking him up again. He went straight towards it and now encounters his doppelganger. So, Broly Black begins fighting him. Broly Black in his base is pretty strong because he still does have God the Key within him. Also, look at what happened in Goku Black. In his base alone, he was able to fight Goku in Super Saiyan 2. Broly Black is very inexperienced though and doesn't really know how to utilize this body. This is pretty much days after he became Broly, whereas Goku Black had a much longer time fighting against Trunks. So at this point, I'd say Broly Black is a little bit weaker than present Broly in his base, which is still really strong, but he's also up against future Broly, a legendary Super Saiyan who's been unrestrained for so long and grew stronger after fighting against Trunks. His power continuously grew. So the match is actually pretty lopsided in future Broly's favor. And because of that, the fight ends in a massive upset. Future Broly destroys Broly Black, and then sets his sights on Zamasu. Thankfully for Zamasu, he's immortal, so he can't die. But things are going pretty bad pretty quickly. Although he does have one backup plan. He's not too sure how well it'll work, but he lost his ally and he's already started the Zero Mortals plan, so he's gonna finish this. Broly can't kill him, which is a good thing. But after studying Broly for so long, he figured out that in the present, Broly was controlled by Paragus. The crown that he had to control him is broken though, but Zamasu can use the same principles here. Mind control. Whatever that device was to control Broly, he could probably pull the same thing off with his own magic. And that's what his plan B was. After meeting Broly Black, this Zamasu was caught up to speed about everything involving Broly. He didn't really have much time to learn a lot more about him, but he at least knows this. It's not going to be an easy process, but Zamasu's a pretty gifted fighter, and he'll find some way to make this work. By this point, Shin and Trunks have felt this energy. Broly's back, and of course they do sense this. It would be hard to not notice it, but it does catch them by surprise. Also, who was Broly fighting? Because it felt like he was fighting someone else strong, but Trunks couldn't really sense it. Shin and Kibito felt what seemed like a godly presence though, which is really confusing. Either way, they need to figure out where Broly is and stop him once and for all. It seemed like Trunks killed him before, but it looks like he really can survive stuff like that. Trunks does know that in the present timeline, Broly survived that attack from Goku, but Trunks was sure he killed him. He sent a beam flying right through his chest, and he got launched into a star. It looks like he underestimated the legendary Super Saiyan. Remember, this Trunks also doesn't even know what happened with Broly after the fact. He doesn't realize Broly eventually came to Earth and became good. Just worth mentioning. So, Trunks is brought to where Broly is, and they arrive on a random planet where Zamasu's with Broly. Zamasu is trying to control Broly with magic, but nothing's really working right now. Although, something changes when Broly sees Trunks. Before, Broly had no reason to have a grudge against Trunks, but of course now, he does. Trunks is his main target, and this is good for Zamasu. You know what? He probably can't control Broly, but Broly's still gonna be fighting Trunks here and can kill him. He'll find some way to kill Broly later and probably control him on his own. But for now, he's gonna watch this. Immediately, he teleports away just so he's not noticed. And all they see is Broly. Now begins round 2. Legendary Super Saiyan Broly versus Ultimate Trunks. Like I said, Broly is stronger, but after Trunks' previous encounter with him, Trunks has been training as much as possible, knowing that he needs to grow stronger than ever. And again, he knows how dangerous Broly is, and Broly slipped through his fingers once. He's not going to let that happen again. He aims to make this fight quick, and he's confident that he could win here. But something's different about Broly this time. He's stronger not just because he grew in his base, but his legendary Super Saiyan form looks a bit different, and Trunks can't believe what he's seeing. This entire time, Broly hasn't just been a legendary Super Saiyan, he's gone beyond. This is essentially legendary Super Saiyan 2. This time it is tougher for Trunks, even with how much he's grown. First of all, Broly's not off guard here. Second of all, he's stronger, and with a stronger form. And third, Trunks doesn't really know what to expect. But Broly's overcome by an intense bloodlust. First, after seeing Broly Black, which he still doesn't know anything about, and now seeing Trunks again, the person who tried to kill him. But he wasn't successful, and this time the tables have turned. As Broly fights Trunks, someone then tries to attack Shin and Kibito. It's Zamasu. Of course, this leaves him confused because why is Zamasu attacking them? Why is he here in the first place? Zamasu's stronger than both of them, but they're able to hold their own just for a little bit, and they figure out what Zamasu's doing. But amidst this battle, Trunks is able to get just enough power to deal a severe blow to Broly, hitting him right in that same scar he gave him all those years ago. This weakens him significantly, and Trunks makes sure to kill him this time. He unsheaths the broken Z-sword, using his ki to turn it into a full sword, and he kills Broly exactly like he did to Frieza, slicing him up into a bunch of pieces, and then incinerating him. No matter how resilient he is, he won't come back from that. And this leaves Zamasu in awe because he didn't realize Trunks got that strong. Had Broly Black unlocked his full potential, he would have been able to fight Trunks, but as they were now, if they encounter Trunks, yeah, that wouldn't have worked. And then Trunks immediately rushes in to help Shin and Kibito, getting the go-ahead to kill Zamasu. So he cuts Zamasu in half, but he just regenerates. And then they find out Zamasu's immortal, finally learning more about his plan. Nothing they do against him will work, but there's a bright pillar of light that appears, and they're a bit shocked to see who it is. Trunks doesn't know who it is, but the other three do. It's Whis. Why is he here? Zamasu feels a tap on his shoulder. Looks like he got here just in time. It's Beerus. He woke up not too long ago, sensing a disturbance and also realizing that this is the time he's going to meet his rival. But on the way here, he realized that his rival was in danger, as well as Shin. And if Shin's in danger, that means he's in danger. Had he been a few moments later, he probably wouldn't have been able to save Shin. But this is easy. With a quick motion, he seals Zamasu away. It doesn't matter if he's immortal. This will stop him for good. And then he looks over to Trunks. He's not really too sure what he was looking for in a rival, but Trunks seems to be the strongest mortal left, and his rival was supposed to be a Saiyan. It looks like it's going to be Trunks. Trunks returns to the past, surprising everyone because obviously they're going to wonder why he's here in the first place. The first person he sees is Bulma, and she contacts everyone on Beerus' planet, and he gets a few surprises. For one, he learns Goku and Vegeta are training with Beerus. Then he learns Goku's actually alive again, because when he left, Goku was dead. He assumed that they'd find some way to revive him, but no, he actually stayed dead that entire time, only until very recently. Whis was the one to revive him. But probably the biggest surprise of all is the fact that Goku and Vegeta aren't the only one on Beerus' planet. They're with someone else. Everyone arrives on Earth, and for the first time, Trunks meets BROLY, the good version of him. Why is BROLY with them now? Especially after what just happened in his timeline, he's confused, but Vegeta explains what happened. BROLY eventually did show up here on Earth. After he was defeated on new planet Vegeta, he came here and lost all his memories and he was purified. BROLY doesn't really remember too much about Trunks, but Vegeta had told BROLY about him before. So the fact that there's another timeline isn't too shocking to him. Although BROLY does wonder, what's he up to in the future? And Trunks has no clue how to respond to this. Well, that's the whole reason he's here. For one, future BROLY's dead. He never turned good, and Trunks actually had to fight him, and he had to be killed. But also, there was another BROLY. So by now, Trunks actually knows what Zamasu did and how BROLY Black came to be. But he didn't realize BROLY had actually turned good here. He thought Zamasu just took another BROLY from another timeline, not this specific BROLY. But now he's piecing it together and realizes why this BROLY specifically is the one who turned into BROLY Black. Also, why he was so powerful in general. Trunks also learns of the other godly forms that Goku and Vegeta have unlocked. But he wants to see what BROLY's power is like, just out of curiosity, because had he not stopped BROLY Black right away, he would have had to fight against that. And BROLY doesn't mind showing off. He wishes he had an opportunity to actually use this in battle at its fullest, but it's kind of overpowered. So far he's just been showcasing it to people, although he's probably going to fight Beerus with it soon. So, BROLY transforms, showing off his God BROLY form. Trunks couldn't even sense Super Saiyan God or Super Saiyan Blue in the first place, so this is no different, but he could still feel the pressure from it at least. He has to brace himself when BROLY transforms, it's that powerful. It's like it's shaking him to his core. This makes the two BROLYs he fought look like nothing. He can't believe they've all grown this much. He also learns Gohan's been consistently training too. He doesn't have any God forms or anything, but thanks to being a hybrid, he's at least keeping up in strength. And he's gone beyond Super Saiyan 2, unlocking Super Saiyan 3 for himself. But BROLY's the one that really makes him taken aback because, well, he's good, which is weird in the first place, but seeing how strong he is in general, that makes him wonder how that strength is even possible. This is Beerus' true rival. Of course, he knows about Beerus in the future now, and he's on the path to becoming his next rival, but to think that Beerus in this timeline has BROLY as his rival, it makes Trunks wonder if he could really impress the Beerus in his timeline. After seeing all this and getting caught up to speed, he goes into more detail about what happened in his timeline and what they need to do next. So, at least they know about Zamasu and how he's about to act. Thankfully, with Trunks coming here, it prevents any of the other events happening. Unfortunately, this isn't going to reverse anything that happened in his timeline, but it doesn't really matter because he prevented most of the damage anyways. But Zamasu and BROLY Black in his timeline, they're not going to be affected by this at all. Trunks is glad that he got to come here again though, and he's going to be training a lot more in the future. He's going to be Beerus' next rival there. And he's glad to see Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue. Now he has a good idea of what he needs to work towards. So he returns home. And after the whole Zamasu thing is solved here, we enter another brief time frame of peace. The Saiyans on Beerus' planet keep training. But now Beerus thinks it's about time to finally fight BROLY at his fullest. He's been training a lot, and it's like BROLY said, he never really got to use his God form against anybody else. So why not actually try take it for a test run now against Beerus? Beerus won't hold anything back either. He believes BROLY is that powerful. He's definitely getting closer to his level, and it's been a long time since Beerus last gauged that power. That's the whole reason he came here anyways. What's the point if they don't test it in combat? So now, for the first time in a while, BROLY is going to face off against him. Goku, Vegeta, and Whis watch on, and Beerus powers up all the way. He said he won't hold it back, but just for the beginning of this fight, he's going to start at 50%, just in case. He believes this is what BROLY can handle right now, and if he needs to crank it up to 100, he will. He hopes that's the case. So BROLY doesn't hold back either. He goes into his God form, and the fight commences. One thing that's been holding BROLY back recently is the fact that he grows during combat. But there's a big issue though. The only time he's fought recently, he's had to hold back significantly. Like against Goku, Vegeta, or even Hit, he's only using Legendary Super Saiyan and he's not even really using it to its fullest. That's how strong he is right now. There's not a lot of room to grow when he's not even really trying. But here against Beerus, he could actually try. He could use everything he has. And his ki will continue to keep surging, rising beyond its previous limits as BROLY adapts during the battle. And Beerus is having a lot of fun too. He's never had to use this much power in a while. But more important to him is the fact that BROLY's actually keeping up. At first, he's actually a little bit below Beerus, but as the battle rages on and BROLY gets more adjusted to using this power at its fullest, with his power growing as well, the two are evenly matched. Beerus is still the better combatant. As I mentioned before, the one area where BROLY kinda lacks is experience, and even though he's been training a lot, he still isn't on the level of Goku and Vegeta, much less the level of Beerus. But at least in terms of raw power, he is matching Beerus right now, and that power continues increasing. He asks Beerus to show his full power. He wants to see it and he thinks he can handle it right now. And Beerus is caught up in the heat of battle right now, so he obliges. He was waiting to finally do this again. So Beerus powers up to his fullest, going to 100% power. Broly's already taken a lot of damage in this fight, and now Beerus just widened the gap in power. It's almost like Beerus caught a second wind from this too. Now that he's fighting with everything he's got, he's much more energetic. And with this, he ends up winning the battle, defeating Broly and knocking him unconscious. Then Beerus powers down. Goku and Vegeta are absolutely speechless, not just at Broly's power, but Beerus' power. They never got to see his full strength. They're dumbfounded, and they wonder if they're ever going to be able to catch up to that level. Even Broly seems so far away from them right now. They really need to change their approach. As for Beerus though, he could tell Broly is going to surpass him relatively soon, within the next few years. At least, if Beerus keeps being lazy. This is just the motivation he needed, and it's exactly what he wanted. He found his true rival. Beerus is going to have to train himself a bit more though. At the rapid pace Broly's growing at, Beerus can't just sit here doing nothing. So, maybe he's going to have to start training again too. This fight serves as a motivator for everybody. It motivates Beerus, motivates Goku and Vegeta, and of course, it motivates Broly, showing him how close he is to his goal, and how he could surpass it soon enough if he keeps trying. Goku and Vegeta need something new though. They try some training in Whis' staff, and they try working on new things. Whis is of course trying to train them towards Ultra Instinct. As for Broly, that's not really his main focus, because Broly's already strong enough as is, and he doesn't think he can master Ultra Instinct that quickly. But with Goku and Vegeta, he could see that potential there, and wonders if maybe the two of them can reach that soon enough. That would be the key to what they need. Obviously, he's not just going to tell them that right off the bat. He's going to keep training them, but they're getting close. And maybe with them taking their training more seriously, that's going to help. Vegeta does have to go home from time to time because he's about to have a daughter, but as for Goku, he basically stays here the whole time, working as much as he can. Right now, Goku's a bit ahead of Vegeta, because even though he's alive right now, for so many years he's been dead and training 24/7, so even in the moments when he was even with Vegeta in terms of power, he got to train even more. The gap is closing, but right now, Goku is stronger than Vegeta, and of course Broly is way above both of them. And now we head to the Tournament of Power. As for the team, it's going to be pretty much the exact same. I'm sure they would try to recruit Majin Buu and then he'd still fall asleep, but it doesn't really matter. Just picture the same exact team, but instead of Frieza, it's Broly there. Everyone else still can join and still will join. Beerus is already pretty confident going into this. Of course, he's not overconfident because he doesn't really know what to expect from the other universes, especially because in Universe 11, there's a mortal that's rumored to be stronger than his God of Destruction. Although Beerus tries to frame this differently. If those comparisons are to Belmod, well, Beerus thinks that Broly's already stronger than him. It's been about a year since Trunks returned, and a year since Beerus and Broly fought. Since then, he's of course been training a lot. Beerus wonders if Broly's even above him now. They're going to have to fight after the tournament because, well, he knows they're going to win and they won't be erased. But he's not really too concerned about that mortal from Universe 11 because he has his own mortal that's stronger than a God of Destruction, and he fully believes Broly's the strongest mortal in the multiverse. There's only one way to find that out though. The Tournament of Power begins. I'm not really going to focus on the small fights because, of course, we already know Universe 7's going to win here, but there are still some other important events here. Like, for one, I feel like at some point in the tournament, Broly would end up meeting Kale. Preparing for the tournament, Cabba tried to get Super Saiyan for himself after seeing it, and then of course that led to Caulifla and Kale being recruited, and they ended up getting the form as well, which then led to them finding out that Kale has some sort of weird power. And immediately Cabba recognized it. It looked like that same green-haired form Broly used against Hit, or at least very similar. He's not really too sure. So right off the bat, they go to see Broly just to get his insight on it. Because from what he remembers, Broly was a pretty nice guy despite his crazy power. And Kale's a bit scared to show off her power right away, but Broly says it's fine. If it truly is the same type of power he has, he'll be able to handle it. And he's curious. He wants to see it. He was in the same spot a while ago, scared to use his own power. But the only way to tame that power is to actually use it. She can't be scared of it. So Broly gets Kale to transform, and she goes berserk. He can immediately sense that she has a similar type of power, and just by looking at it, it's pretty obvious too. Although she's way far behind Broly in terms of strength. Broly doesn't even need to transform here. He just tries to get her to control it. Caulifla and Cabba are amazed too because Broly's fighting her effortlessly. They could barely handle her before, and Broly's not even transformed. Broly enjoys this too. It's not necessarily an intense battle, but it's the first time he's actually gotten to train someone, which is weird. He's never done this before. But it's also the first time seeing someone similar to him like this. He guesses it makes sense though. It's another universe, so it's only natural there's someone similar to him there. And it's strange. Kale has the same power, but not the same demonic nature. Of course, transforming like this makes her go berserk, but for her it might even be easier to control that power. She's simply going berserk. Broly, on the other hand, was an evil person who went berserk, and he realized that he didn't have to let that define him. So for Kale, it should be pretty simple. He spends some of his time in the tournament training her, and eventually she gets adjusted to the power and controls it. Beerus finds this pretty interesting to watch, but he wants Broly to take this more seriously because he spent a lot of time just doing nothing in the tournament and just train another team. He's being a little bit too easygoing about this. Broly apologizes, but again, he already kind of knows the outcome here. After he trained them, he lets all the three Saiyans fight him. And just to show off, he powers up into his regular Super Saiyan form. He defeats all three of them, but it was a good fight, and he says they put in a good effort, and they don't need to worry about being erased. He likes seeing these other universes. If he becomes the MVP, he's going to wish for the other universes to be restored. He definitely wants to see them again, but he has a lot more to explore too. While this was going on, Goku and Vegeta were in their own fights, and eventually, Goku ended up trying to fight Jiren, and he got to show off a new power of his, Ultra Instinct Omen. After all this time training in Whis' staff, and completely dedicating himself to this, he finally got it. Right now it's not amazing, which is why he's still using Omen, but he can transform into it willingly. After all, he had some pretty great training partners, Vegeta and BROLY. Speaking of Vegeta, he eventually does join in. The two of them are fighting together, and Vegeta shows off his own Ultra Instinct Omen. This actually does push Jiren a bit. They're powerful. Of course, Goku and Vegeta aren't on Broly's level, but their training has still been very effective because they had Broly as a training partner. They are much stronger than their normal selves, not just because they have Ultra Instinct, but just in general they are. And with the two of them fighting together, it pushes Jiren into his full power. Broly watches on too. He thinks they might actually be able to defeat Jiren. Their combined power should be above his, but Jiren's able to take one of them out, knocking Vegeta out of the ring first, and then getting rid of Goku. They were close, and they definitely were powerful, but it wasn't enough to defeat him. And now it's time for Broly to step up. Jiren could tell that he's the main event, and Broly powers up into his god form. Although this is kind of overkill. He didn't really need this. He ends up knocking Jiren out of the ring, and basically just watches the rest of his team fight, and when they actually need help, he comes in. It would be kind of lame if he just wiped everyone out himself, and of course, a bunch of people try to fight him after he defeated Jiren, so he knocks them out pretty easily. So even though Goku and Vegeta were knocked out, it was only because they were so strong and they actually pushed Jiren into his full power. And it doesn't really matter because Universe 7 ended up winning anyways. Broly becomes the MVP, and he wishes for the other universes to come back. And this tournament left Broly with a few questions. Specifically after seeing Kale, it makes him wonder about the origins of his power. And Beerus kind of wonders the same thing. He wonders if he could help Broly somehow. Maybe by going back to his Saiyan roots, they could figure out more about this. And they're going to face a pretty interesting opponent next. Moro escapes the Galactic Patrol prison, which of course means Maris has to go to Earth. Thankfully, Boo is actually around in the scenario, so they're going to go and try to find him. Maybe they can get the Grand Supreme Kai to help. They have no other clue of what to do against Moro. The Galactic Patrol arrives on Earth trying to get Boo to come with them. Goku, Vegeta, and Broly aren't sure what's happening, so they stand up against it. Of course, they think Maris is a threat right away, so Maris tries to stop them, but he can't do anything against Broly. Broly wonders why the Galactic Patrol is coming after them. So before they actually go into a real battle, Maris explains why he's here, which would have been an easier way to do it before. It was just a big misunderstanding. They learn about Moro escaping prison and how they needed Majin Buu to help. Maris also does know about the mortals here, obviously. Goku, Vegeta, and Broly particularly. Goku and Vegeta have Ultra Instinct. At least Omen. They're not really too well practiced with it, but Maris does know about that, and he knows Broly's the strongest mortal ever. Goku and Vegeta do want to go along to help, and Broly does too, but Maris thinks it's best he stays back just because of Moro's powers. And they bring Buu along, of course. Broly going there could be a double-edged sword. Sure, he could defeat Moro right away, but at the same time, what if Moro does try something and is able to get Broly's power? He'd be pretty much unstoppable. Broly's not too sure what they're dealing with, but you know what? If he says that, then he'll stick with it. He'll stay here on Earth. So Goku, Vegeta, and Buu go to Namek. Leading up to arriving on Namek, things start out pretty much like normal. But then, once they're actually there, Vegeta's the first one to fight Moro. Of course, he does have Ultra Instinct Omen, which does kind of help against Moro, but at the same time, he doesn't go into it right away, and no one knows what to expect from Moro's powers either. Plus, again, he's not really too well practiced with it. Eventually, he does use Omen against Moro, and it does mitigate the effects of his powers somewhat, but it's already too late. Especially because Moro's bought himself enough time, and he's able to escape with the Dragon Balls in his possession, defeating Goku and Vegeta while he's at it. Now they have a better idea of how his power works, and they still don't really have a true way to counter it, but it looks like Ultra Instinct is the key. Moro was weaker than them beforehand, and now with his youth back, he's definitely going to be a bigger challenge, but with the both of them using Ultra Instinct, they could find a way to win. As they recover, Moro obtains his youth, and then Goku, Vegeta, and Buu are ready to fight him, with Buu now being awake. First, Buu fights him, and he's able to counter Moro's magic pretty well, thanks to the Grand Supreme Kai. Plus, even though Goku and Vegeta don't have their full power back, they have recovered a bit and can fight. Utilizing Ultra Instinct Omen once more, Moro was pushed back a lot, and he's about to lose, but the other prisoners arrive just in time. Had they not gotten here in time, he would have definitely lost. The Grand Supreme Kai continues to fight him, while Goku and Vegeta go up against the prisoners. With Goku and Vegeta being stronger, some of the prisoners are defeated earlier on, including 7-3. Now he's not going to be a threat anymore. But there still are a lot of other prisoners, and at the same time, Moro is taking more of their energy. And not just that, he's giving it to the prisoners. Once more, Moro is able to narrowly escape, solely due to better planning and good timing on his part, which means Goku, Vegeta, and the Grand Supreme Kai retreat too. That was a really close call for Moro. He didn't expect those two to be that powerful, and that technique they were using, it's something from the gods. Plus, Moro already did lose some allies. 7-3's been destroyed, which is a big loss because that was a backup plan for him. Plus, some of the other prisoners have been defeated. He might need to be a bit more careful before he strikes again. And he also senses something far away. He tries to monitor Earth just to see where Goku and Vegeta are from and what other powers are there. And he feels something really strong, something that's dormant there. What he's sensing is Broly. It makes him wonder if he should go there right away, but again, he wants to be a little bit more careful. Some prisoners are sent there while he observes. Broly fights, but he's not at his full power. Plus, Gohan and Piccolo are there fighting too. But Broly in particular is what gets his attention. He seems like a really good target. Moro does definitely need more energy before he fights him because right now he's going to be too weak to face off against Broly. But imagine if he gets his hands on power like that. He doesn't know what the true extent of Broly's power is. But just from what he's seeing, even when holding back, he's able to outpace everybody else. His regular Super Saiyan form puts everyone else to shame, and that's the most he gets to see. So, Moro gives it some time. He gives it the same 2 months like normal. This way, he can grow in the meantime, and Earth will be a better snack. Plus, he has Broly waiting there for him. Either way, he's going to end up going to Earth, but just not right now. It wouldn't really be too smart. This is good news for Goku and Vegeta because they have some time to train with Maris. There's no yard rat here. Vegeta goes with Maris because he wants to get better with Ultra Instinct, and same for Goku. They're going to be training purely with that because it seems like a good way to counter Moro, and of course, it's going to be a good way for them to advance in general. Meanwhile on Earth, everyone there is going to prepare for the arrival of Moro. Not really knowing what to expect, but they should be good. Having Broly alone is good enough, but they also have Gohan there who's pretty strong, and a handful of other strong warriors. They're still going to prepare, but they feel pretty confident. But Broly's not going to prepare here on Earth. He goes back to Beerus' planet for a bit because there was something else he was working on, and he doesn't really have the hang of it yet, but maybe he can get that in check. The others will be fine without him, and if he needs to come back here, he will. Whis can get him back here pretty quickly. So, the 2 months go by. Broly comes back to Earth, and Goku and Vegeta are on their way, but still not back just yet. The Galactic Patrol prisoners arrive, landing all over the planet with everyone fighting them. Thankfully, the group's pretty prepared. The strongest go after Gohan, Piccolo, and Broly, and they're not too much of a challenge. Moro has of course given these prisoners a bunch of energy, so they're a lot stronger than normal, but they still can't do anything. All the prisoners are wiped out pretty quickly. As a last-ditch effort, Saganbo is powered up by Moro, and he's sent to fight Broly. But Broly doesn't even power up fully. Quickly, he turns into a Super Saiyan, one-shotting Saganbo. If this is the power that he's up against, Moro shouldn't be too big of a threat to him. Although, he does know about Moro's magic. Moro is going to try and steal his energy. That's why Broly's conserving his power a lot. He might need to power up a bit for Moro because he doesn't know what his true strength is like, but he also does have another plan in mind, just in case. With the prisoners being defeated before Goku and Vegeta arrive, Moro decides to step up, ready to fight against Broly. And seeing him in person, he feels something strange about his power. Well, there's a couple things off about it. Not only is he not a regular Saiyan, but there's something else about his energy that feels weird. So he and Broly begin fighting. Broly powers up into his Super Saiyan, and Moro feels more of that strange sensation again. Broly has a monster deep within him, and Broly is pretty surprised Moro could discern that right away. He laughs a bit, getting a bit cocky about it too. He definitely does have a lot of power locked away. He doesn't think he'll need his full power to defeat Moro. And if he does, Moro definitely won't like to see that full power. There is a reason he's the strongest in the multiverse after all. This is kind of a surprise to Moro. Is this Saiyan gloating? No, he's completely serious. He's just letting Moro know what he's up against. He seemed so reserved before when he was holding his power back, but now that he's a Super Saiyan, and eventually transforming to a legendary Super Saiyan, he's become a lot more outgoing, and a lot more confident as well. At first, Moro thought he was simply being cocky, but no, he comes to see Broly truly is that powerful, which is good. He'll make for a good snack. He then tries to steal Broly's energy, and when he takes it, he can't absorb it. He tries to, but it's almost like it's painful for him. And not just that, when he tries to draw energy from Broly, it feels like his power was bottomless, like there was no shortage of ki within him. But the other thing about it, there's a destructive nature to the energy. Broly's been training with Beerus. He could utilize destructive energy now. He hasn't fully mastered it, but he's imbued it within his own ki. And even better, when he goes into his God Broly form, it innately uses that energy. So he powers up once more. He's completely immune to Moro's absorption because if Moro tries to absorb his energy, well, it'll hurt him at best and destroy him at worst. And the gap in power is far too large for Moro to do anything against anyways. He can't take Broly's power, and he can't fight against it. Broly was always so scared of his latent power, but it's a blessing, and now he's using it in a completely different way than before. He's learned to embrace it. He's still the legendary Super Saiyan, and he's fully accepted that, but he's not a monster hell-bent on destruction. But he's not going to ignore that destructive power. Beerus came to see that it's destructive in a different way than they first thought. They're still trying to get to the bottom of exactly what it is, but Beerus could tell Broly definitely was meant to be his rival for a reason. So Moro tries to drain power from everyone else, but by the time he does this, Goku and Vegeta arrive too. They were hoping to get here in time to fight Moro, and it looks like Broly's already fighting him, which means that it's probably already over. But Broly powers down. If they want to try and fight Moro, they can. Clearly they've been training a lot and he doesn't want to take that away from them. Vegeta can't believe Broly's patronizing them still. But you know what? Who cares? He gets another chance to fight Moro and actually win here. But Goku wants to fight him too, and they don't want to fight together. They could fight individually. So the two do rock, paper, scissors. And Moro can't believe what he's seeing. Are they seriously that confident? Broly he understands, but why power down and let these two morons fight him? He fought them before and they already lost. Even with that godly technique they were using, it wasn't enough. Actually, it was enough. It's just that they didn't really know what they were up against. But now that they fought Moro before, they know what they're doing. Goku ends up winning the rock, paper, scissors. And not only do they know better now, but their form is better too. Goku transforms, going Ultra Instinct. But this time it's different. His hair is completely silver. The training was incredibly beneficial because not only were they training with Maris, but they were training with each other, two people with the Ultra Instinct already. And since they already had it beforehand, they were ahead of the curve. The two have completed the form. They're still only just scratching the surface with it, but they're a lot better than before, and with this, they should be able to defeat Moro. Goku ends up fighting him, and the fight doesn't really last too long. Goku tries to prolong it a little bit more just to see what Moro is truly capable of, but he's already far surpassed him. Moro gets desperate and tries to take energy from Earth and everyone around him again, but he doesn't get a chance to do that. Goku finishes the battle, and Broly is the one to finish him off, standing right over Moro and sticking a hand out, performing a Hakai, completely erasing him. It's a good thing they've dealt with that, but Broly does wish he got to see more of their power. Of course, he's trained with them, and he saw it in the Tournament of Power too, but this is new. Ultra Instinct didn't have silver hair before, so he's gonna have to test it out some other way. He wants to fight against them. Of course, they can't do that here. And this entire time, Beerus and Whis have been here because, well, they were the ones to bring Broly here, and they wanted to watch the fight happen. Whis is very impressed that the two of them finally unlocked Ultra Instinct. It looks like his little brother was pretty helpful, and this is where everyone else figures out that Maris is an angel. Goku and Vegeta already knew, though. Beerus is pretty happy, too. To think, these mortals got Ultra Instinct. He has Broly as his rival with that destructive power, but also, these two have this now. He really has a lot of good things on his plate. Figuratively and literally because he gets to enjoy Earth food as well. It was a good thing that he ended up coming here to fight his rivals. Following Moro's defeat, they returned to Beerus' planet, not only to train further, but so Broly could have his fight with the both of them. This time they're a lot more confident, but they're still going to fight together. Individually, they're not going to be able to defeat Broly. But maybe with Ultra Instinct they could draw out some more power from him and doesn't need to hold back as much. The fight begins and they all power up right away. Broly goes Legendary Super Saiyan, and Goku and Vegeta go into Ultra Instinct. Broly actually does struggle against both of them. They're incredibly fast. Their reflexes are unmatched. In terms of technique, he's completely outpaced too. That's one area where he's always lagged behind. And in terms of power, they're definitely a lot stronger. And Vegeta can see that Broly can't keep up. As a Legendary Super Saiyan, he's holding back way too much to fight them. Even one of them could take on Broly alone right now, probably even defeat him. He's gonna have to use his true power. Legendary Super Saiyan's incredibly strong, and they're glad they finally surpassed him. Although they're aiming higher. They want to see his God form. So, Broly obliges, powering up into God Broly. With this form, he has pretty great ki control, so he's able to hold back if he needs. If he uses full power, well, he'd defeat both of them right away. But they already surpassed his legendary form, and they want to see his full power, so there's no point in holding it back anymore. He's really impressed with how much they've grown. And you know what? This kind of reminds him of the first time he fought Beerus, where Beerus had to hold back a lot, but still did enjoy the battle. That's what he's doing here right now. He's still holding back a lot of his power, but he gets to draw out more of it than usual, and this is the first time he's had a true challenge in a while, even if he's not using his full strength. Goku and Vegeta are very happy too, not just with their own progress, but the fact that they could even fight God Broly. Before, there's no way this could have happened. Although Broly of course ends up beating them. They're not going to win this fight, even with both of them together. The reason they want to surpass this is because Broly's going to go above this soon too. He's trying to break his limits in a new way, and they're not really too sure what he's aiming for. So Goku asks him outright, what is he looking to become? And Broly says they'll see pretty soon. Honestly, he's not even really too sure yet. Broly has the true makings of a god of destruction, if he decides to become one. So, he'll have to train like he's gonna become one. The three Saiyans on Beerus' planet continue training, of course. Following the defeat of Moro, we would normally have the Granola arc, but without Frieza, not much of that would be set in motion. And even if that were to happen, it wouldn't really amount to much here, because Granola and Gas would end up making the wishes to become the strongest in the universe, but those wishes wouldn't work. They wouldn't be able to surpass Broly. Either it would completely compress their life so they wouldn't have any life left, or they just wouldn't be able to do the wish, and Broly would just be able to defeat them regardless. Not that the arc's going to be set in motion anyways, but that's worth mentioning. But the story doesn't end here. We still have another arc and then something else. The Red Ribbon Army is slowly trying to make a comeback. Especially after the fight against Moro, they have some pretty good data, particularly on Broly himself, which is going to change a lot of this. Of course, Broly wasn't around by the time Cell arrived. It wasn't until after Cell's defeat that Broly came to Earth. The Red Ribbon Army spied on everyone again, and found out that first of all, Goku somehow came back to life, and second of all, him and all his friends have a new friend, another alien who came from outer space and was some sort of monster. There was some other guy in the past too that tried to use Broly's power and make some sort of monster from him, but that didn't work out. So they scoured the Earth and found the remains of Bio Broly. There wasn't really much left, but there was some DNA evidence at the bottom of the ocean, so the Red Ribbon Army tries to use this. Essentially what they're going to do is try and combine all the info from Dr. Gero, as well as everything Jaguar accomplished from funding his research. Although they still don't really have much info about Broly, and the DNA they get from Bio Broly isn't really significant, plus it's old. That'll happen years in the past. Things go differently with the development of Cell Max here. Magenta knows how dangerous Broly is, so he's a lot more patient, and Hedo does want to build Gamma 1 and 2, but after building them, he goes back to making Cell Max. He doesn't really like the idea of Cell Max, but Magenta's actually more patient now. This gives Hedo some time to make sure he's actually brainwashed, so he's not just a mindless rampaging monster. But on top of that, it makes Cell Max more powerful. They try and get any sort of data they can from Moro, but there wasn't really anything left behind from him. They tried to keep up with the fight while it was happening, but they weren't able to collect any DNA from him, and there's no remains of him because he was completely destroyed. They do also want to collect some samples from Goku and Vegeta that are updated, but they don't have anything new. They've been on Beerus' planet for a while, but for Broly, he has been on the planet a lot, and there's a lot of DNA he's left behind. Although, unlike the regular Cell, it's not using DNA in the same way, rather it's just feeding Cell Max new data. He is a completely different android after all, and he's going to be built differently, especially because the whole goal is to make him even better than Cell was. So even though they don't really have much DNA to work with, it's fine. That still counts as data, and they still have info from drones that were watching everything. So Gamma 1 and 2 are built, but they don't really do much. Magenta basically just funded that so Hedo would be pleased, and they just sit there doing nothing. At least not until Cell Max is made. And he's fully completed. I made a short about this before, but Cell Max wouldn't actually look any different when he was perfected because his body was already complete. They just needed to implement the mind control, so Cell Max would still look like Cell Max. But he's actually intelligent, following orders and not destroying everything. At least not destroying things he's not commanded to destroy. And Cell Max should be more than enough. They can't find Broly, Goku, or Vegeta right now, but there are some other people on Earth like Piccolo or Gohan, for example, and it would be a bit hard to send Cell Max out after them. And they could do that, but they'd rather make this a more low-key operation. So Gamma 1 and 2 get to do something now. They're going to try and draw Gohan and Piccolo here. Hedo says the Gammas could just kill them right now. They're more than strong enough. But Magenta says it's better to test out Cell Max. They want to see what his power's truly like. Sure, the Gammas could kill those targets, but it would be better to bring them directly here. Especially because they could be used as bait. Once Broly, Goku, and Vegeta actually show up, they could basically take Piccolo and Gohan as hostages. So Gamma 1 sent out to find Gohan, and Gamma 2 sent out to find Piccolo. And instead of fighting right away, they come up with their own ways to draw them into the Red Ribbon Army base. But Gohan and Piccolo are in communication and realize that this is happening at the same time, so they don't know what's going on here. This smells like a trap and they're not going to fall for that. They're not stupid, especially because, well, their outfits have the Red Ribbon Army logo on them. So the Gammas do end up fighting Gohan and Piccolo anyways, with Gohan defeating Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 defeating Piccolo. Gamma 2 picks up the unconscious Piccolo and takes him back to the base. Gohan can't sense Piccolo's energy anymore, and he can't sense Gamma 2's energy, obviously. So Gamma 1 still has a bargaining chip. He says the only way he could find his friend is if he comes along with him. Gohan isn't really too concerned because if these are the strongest androids they built, he could fight the other one. But something still feels off about this. So Gamma 1 leads him to the Red Ribbon Army base. But while he does this, Gohan starts to mentally communicate with Dende. He wants to get a message to everyone on Beerus' planet but isn't sure how to get it there. Dende says he'll figure something out. He tries to contact Bulma, who's going to try and contact Whis. But he'll also try and contact King Kai and see if he can get in contact with Shin. It is going to take some time though because it's basically a game of telephone. That's fine. Gohan will buy them time. Gohan arrives at the base and immediately, Cell Max jumps out. Gohan's completely blindsided. Gamma 2's there holding an unconscious Piccolo, and Gohan's basically forced to fight Cell Max alone. It takes him by surprise at first seeing Cell in the first place, but he can't waste time questioning it. He just has to fight this guy. But it's a good thing he told Dende. That should mean Broly, Goku, and Vegeta will be here soon enough. The only thing is, Gohan needs to make sure his power's as high as it can be, just so Goku can teleport here. He needs to buy more time. He tries to fight Cell Max, but nothing he does will really work. And again, Cell Max isn't berserk. Magenta controls every single one of his movements, and he decides to taunt Gohan too, just as a way to get more info out of him. He sends Cell Max over to the unconscious Piccolo, and tells Cell Max to kill him. Gamma 2 hands Piccolo over, and Cell Max picks him up. Cell Max holds Piccolo right in front of his mouth, charging a large beam, and launching it. And after the beam's fired, nothing's left behind. But Gohan's disappeared. He's on the other side of Cell Max, holding Piccolo. He had a huge increase in power just now, and he doesn't know what it is, but he needs to maintain that. He still needs to buy a little bit more time. He's trained all these years. He has some more power locked away, and he's not going to let anyone die. Gohan then tries to tap into that same rage, remembering how Broly accessed that same type of power. Their powers are different, but still, both of them derive some sort of power from rage. And after spending all that time with Broly, he knows how he was able to harness his rage and make it work for him. So Gohan tries to do the same here, tapping into that same thing he felt just now when Piccolo was going to die. And Gohan transforms. For the first time, he accesses his beast form. Of course, this Gohan is stronger than normal by this point, but this Cell Max is also way stronger than normal too, especially with all the extra data he has and the fact that he's part Broly. So Gohan's not just going to one-shot him here like normal, but with this brand new power increase, he's at least able to fight him off. Gohan powers up. Just him powering up alone is enough to destroy the entire area around him, sending Hedo and the Gammas flying, and also interrupting Magenta's control. Briefly, Gohan fights Cell Max. If Goku, Vegeta, and Broly don't have the message by now, they should at least be sensing Gohan's power at the moment with how high it is. And that's exactly what happens. They didn't get the message. Dende wasn't able to get a hold of Beerus in time. Of course, that was really hard too, even after contacting Bulma and King Kai and then eventually Shin. Turns out there's a fight going on Beerus' planet. Beerus and Broly were about to fight each other. But then Goku sensed a huge power far away. So right before Beerus and Broly started their match, Goku interrupted, saying something's wrong on Earth. Something feels weird about Gohan's power. It's way higher than before, and he's also fighting someone a lot stronger. So quickly, Goku teleports himself, Vegeta, and Broly to Earth, using Gohan as a beacon. They get there, and the first thing they see is a giant cell, as well as Gohan with a brand new form. From what they could tell, Gohan's even surpassed them by this point. Well, at least Goku and Vegeta. Goku's proud to see how strong he's grown, but of course, it doesn't seem like enough against this villain. They'll ask questions later. Clearly this guy's a threat and related to the Red Ribbon Army somehow. Goku and Vegeta are about to jump in and fight alongside Gohan, but Broly asks if he could take an opportunity. He did let Goku fight Moro after all. And plus, this seems like a perfect opportunity for Broly to use his power at its fullest, and not hold back anything. He was just about to fight Beerus, so that would have been the same opportunity, but this is different. This could actually be a death match. Well, that is fair. So they stand down and let Broly fight. He's been waiting for this. He's always had this great power locked away, and it's so rare for him to get a battle where he gets to go 100%. But here, he gets to do that, and he doesn't need to worry about killing anyone because he does actually have to kill Cell Max. Magenta's a little shocked to see Broly here, but it shouldn't be a problem. Cell Max was made strong enough to kill him. At least, that's what he thought. They never knew Broly's true power, and even if they did, all the data they have is outdated. After all of his training, Broly finally got something new. He and Beerus were trying to figure out what his true nature was. What made him the legendary Super Saiyan? Why is he this strong? And how could they exploit that to grow even further? From what they found out, it just seemed to be a rare mutation with Broly. But at the same time, it made him innately fit for becoming a god of destruction if he wanted. It's almost as if he was born to be one. It's a good thing Broly turned good, because if he stayed evil, he would have just kept growing stronger and stronger, hell-bent on destruction. But now he has control, although those destructive tendencies are still there, especially when he draws out more of his power. Some of his old personality shines through. Not that it makes him evil, but it gets his Saiyan blood pumping, making his battle spirit rise with the thrill of battle. And Broly ended up unlocking a brand new transformation, something unique to him. It functions sorta similar to Ultra Ego, but it works in perfect harmony with Broly, making use of that nature that he was born with, further refined and controlled by the nurture of him being on Earth. It took Beerus a while to see it, but the reason Broly was born with this runaway power is that he was basically destined to be Beerus' rival. At least, that's what he likes to think. He doesn't know if that's actually the case, but it seems like everything lines up to being like that. Of course, this all isn't part of the actual lore. This is something I'm making up for the story. But this new form of Broly taps into that same power. And because it's tapping into his Saiyan roots, the form looks very Saiyan-like too. Broly grows a tail and fur, with the fur having that same green color his hair usually has. They try to think of a name that sounds a step up from legendary. It is unique to the legendary Super Saiyan after all, so they want it to fit that. This is Broly's new strongest form, his peak, Mythical Saiyan, harnessing Broly's innate power, as well as the power of destruction. Even with Cell Max's immense strength, Broly's too much of a challenge for him. Cell Max basically has no free will, completely brainwashed by Magenta and Hedo. So Broly's not even sure if it's worth talking to him, but he tries to level with Cell Max. His power is impressive. Had it not been for Broly, Cell Max would be the strongest thing in existence, besides the angels of course. He might even be stronger than a lot of the gods of destruction, at least 11 of them. Beerus has taken his training a lot more seriously, and has grown significantly stronger, so maybe not above him. He enjoys this fight, but he also wants to get it over with, mainly because he is going to fight Beerus soon. Broly then jumps up in the air, charging a gigantic meteor with purple flames swirling around it. He then condenses it in his hand, launching it at Cell Max. It hits him directly, and then Broly motions his finger up in the air. Cell Max is then flung out into space. Basically within an instant, he's gone, and everyone looks up. There's a powerful explosion above them, creating a brilliant light show as Broly closes his hand into a fist. Cell Max is destroyed, defeated really easily by Broly. That was a pretty big spectacle, and now Goku and Vegeta have some other questions because, first of all, how'd this all happen? And second of all, what's that new form Gohan's using? Amidst all that mess, Magenta was able to escape, but Gohan says they'll deal with that somehow. The Gammas and Hedo are still nearby, and Broly asks Gohan if he should destroy them too. Hedo immediately starts to panic, but Broly laughs it off. He's just kidding. Although, these guys are still enemies, so they don't know what to do with them. As for Cell Max, yeah, it was worth killing him instantly. But they don't know anything about Dr. Hedo or Gamma 1 and 2. Gohan at least knows that Gamma 1 and 2 viewed themselves as superheroes. So he wonders if maybe they were also brainwashed by the Red Ribbon Army, and then Hedo explains everything. He wanted the funding, so that's why he agreed to do this. He would have rather made superhero androids. Gohan and Piccolo are going to deal with this. In the meantime, Goku, Vegeta, and Broly could head back to Beerus' planet. Thankfully, Broly didn't expend a lot of energy, because Beerus was waiting there, still ready to fight Broly, and he wasn't going to let him recover that energy if he spent a lot. But Broly says he's fine. Once more, he and Beerus could have their rematch. As I said before, Beerus was training a lot more than normal, to the point where he now has access to Ultra Instinct himself, at least partially. Not to the level of Goku and Vegeta, but he was able to pick up on it really quickly. He just never really took his training that seriously, not until Broly came around. And over the past few years, he started doing so, and his skills started to show. He has the completed Ultra Instinct. It's a lower stage of it, but still, with someone as powerful as him, that is still massive. So he and Broly begin fighting. Goku and Vegeta can't even really comprehend the battle that they're watching right now. The battle they saw between Broly and Beerus before was impressive, but this is something else. It makes that previous fight look like it was nothing. They honestly thought Broly was going to be able to win this easily, especially with how powerful his new form is, but with Beerus having Ultra Instinct, that kinda evens the playing field. The thing is though, as Broly fights, he continues to grow, at least in this new mythical Saiyan form that is. Beerus still does gap him in terms of skill, but in terms of power, the two are dead even, at least at first. As the battle goes on, Broly continues growing more and more. Beerus commends him but tells him not to stop there. He's not going to give up that easily. And besides, if he ends up losing this fight, that'll just mean he has to push himself even further. But he wants Broly to prove that he's worthy of God of Destruction, because by now, Broly has decided that he does want to be a God of Destruction. He thinks it's a good path for him, and he's going to make good use of the power that he's trained for. The two continue their battle, and even Whis is pretty impressed. He, of course, is above both of them. It's not like he could fight either of them anyways, because he's not allowed to fight at all. However, he does wonder how the two of them would stand up against someone like him. Maybe together they can make him get a little bit serious in battle. To think that one of them's immortal, at least for Beerus, it makes sense. He's a god of destruction, with access to Ultra Instinct. But Broly being as strong as he is, that's unheard of. The battle ends in a clash of fists. Beerus is knocked out, and Broly's still standing. Pretty injured and pretty worn out, but still, conscious and standing. Broly has finally beaten Beerus. And it's really impressive too, because this is a Beerus that's been training, one who has Ultra Instinct as well. Beerus just takes this as a sign that he needs to train even further. Broly gave him that challenge that he's been longing for, but he can't let Broly fully surpass him. He's not going to be left in the dust like those other two Saiyans. Goku and Vegeta take offense to this, but yeah, it's true. They are still trying to catch up to Broly, but Whis tells them to not feel too bad. They have Ultra Instinct, although it seems Gohan might have just surpassed them. But they should be number 3 and 4 in the multiverse at least. That's not good enough for them though. They're going to aim to go even higher, and aim to surpass Broly eventually. It's a good thing he ended up joining their side though. Back when they saw him on New Planet Vegeta, they never would have thought that he would have been an ally, much less have this level of power. But it seems like it was a good thing that he, Goku, and Vegeta ended up crossing paths, because it led to the birth of the strongest mortal in the multiverse. And actually, right now, the strongest person besides the Angels and Zeno. But Broly's still got some years left in him. Maybe he can even go beyond that. Whis laughs. He doubts it, but it would be nice to see if he does so. That would definitely be a first. And with that, we'll leave off here for now. What did you guys think about this series? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help out the channel, and it shows me you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, thanks for supporting the scenario all the way through, and I'll see you all in my next video.